My 25M girlfriend, 24F, just accused me of cheating on her with my friend, 20M. I am the lead vocalist of a band, and, for the record, I am not gay. I do not hold anything against LGBTQ people, but I am straight, and I have never cheated or given my girlfriend a reason to think I was. My girlfriend has had bad previous relationships before, though. Recently, because COVID-19 has been calmed down somewhat, and because we all needed the extra money, we played at a club in the city where I live. I don't want to give too many details here, but my friend, who is the guitarist of the group, is suicidal, mentally ill, and cuts himself frequently. There is not much I can do because he refuses to get help and is stubborn as a literal mule, though it eats me alive daily, knowing what he does to himself. After our show, my friend had a complete mental breakdown and started sobbing backstage and trying to reopen the stitches that he has over some deep cuts. I was trying to comfort and restrain him at the same time, so I bear hugged him, and he hugged me back and just sort of let himself go. I was trying to comfort him, and then my girlfriend came running out of nowhere, and she grabbed my arm, pulled me up, and accused me of cheating. As you can understand, I was confused by this, and she accused me of cheating on her with my friend behind her back and using her for money, even though I earn more than her, before shoving me away and walking off. I got another band member to watch over the guitarist and followed her back home. We argued for hours over the whole thing until we eventually just went our separate ways. She's in the bedroom, and I'm on the couch as I write this. Can somebody tell me what to do? I don't want our relationship to be ruined just because I was trying to be a good friend. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Sounds like your GF is very toxic. If you can't show compassion to a friend without her going ballistic, then get her out of your life ASAP. It doesn't matter if your bandmate is male or female, a hug is something everyone needs sometimes. Commenter 2. Is it possible she is projecting back onto you? By projecting, I mean, is it possible she cheated and is so insecure she thinks you will too? I've had experience with this, and they tend to stretch scenarios of a string bean scenario that is purely innocent involving care for another and turn it into volcanoes of mass destruction. As you said, if one is straight, how can it actually be true? Whatever you do, sir, do not apologize for caring for your friend. Even in sarcasm. It's a very simple line and she is crossing it extremely poorly. Commenter 3. My girlfriend has had bad previous relationships before. Why were her relationships bad? Your GF sounds very toxic and that she needs all your attention. Also, if it is your place, she needs to sleep on the couch so she can grow up a little. If your GF knows about your friend's illness, then shame on her. Also, your friend needs professional help, therapy, prescribed meds. He needs an intervention if he is still cutting himself. Reply. They fought a lot, apparently. I don't know for sure. Update. Hey, guys. Basically, my girlfriend is now my ex. As soon as she woke up the next morning, she was immediately on my case, demanding to know if I was ready to apologize or not. I said, apologize for what? And then we went back around the ringer again. I don't know if she was cheating on me or not, nor do I care at this point. She moved out to her sister's place yesterday. Now that I think about it, I can see some signs like hiding her phone away from me, talking to people late at night, things like that. Truth be told, I'm not sure that I would have had the courage to break up our relationship like that, if not for the comments, telling me how toxic she really was. Anyways, enough about her. My guitarist was taken to the hospital after I left because he managed to tear out the stitches, and had to stay overnight. His father drove over and took him back home. His family lives in a different country, which I am glad about, because maybe being around his father and other family is something he needs, but I managed to come and see him before his father came. He seemed very out of it, but that was in part because of medications that he's been taking. We talked for a while, hugged. Thankfully, there was nobody to pull me away from him, and he agreed to call me whenever he could. On that note, the band is temporarily on hold, because my friend asked if he could come back to his position when he's in a better headspace, and also because my bassist broke his foot. Fucking figures. Thank you to everybody who gave me advice regarding what to do and my ex, and if I never post here again, then assume that everything is okay. Also, a commenter said something along the lines of, COVID hasn't calmed down. I just want to say that it's calmed down where we live. We're not in the US. Cheers. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Odds are that she may come back sweet to work her way into your life again. Unless she came clean, then I wouldn't bother jumping back into a relationship with her. Regardless, glad to see everyone is fine. I'm sure you could use a break from all of this anyway. Commenter 2. Please tell me your band is now called the Jinxes. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my wife I want part of her property if she wants me to quit my job. My wife, 33F, and I, 34M, have been married for 5 years. She owns a successful real estate business that she started before we met, and I work as a project manager. We don't have kids yet, but she recently told me she wants to start a family soon, and that when we do, she thinks it would be best if I quit my job to manage the household and future children. She told me while handing me this, saying it would help me, assuming I would accept it instantly. I was surprised because we've always been a dual-income household, and I enjoy my job. She argued that since her business brings in significantly more money, it makes sense for me to stay home while she focuses on expanding it. She also said she'd feel more comfortable knowing that when we have kids, I'm the one raising them instead of relying on daycare or a nanny. I told her I'd consider it, but if I give up my career, I want to be legally entitled to a share of her business. If our marriage lasts forever, it wouldn't matter, but if we ever divorce, I'd be giving up my career advancement while her business keeps growing. She was shocked and said I should trust her and that this felt transactional. I tried to explain that this isn't about not trusting her, I love her, but if I leave the workforce, I'd lose earning potential while her wealth increases. I'm fine with making sacrifices for our family, but I want some security in return. When I mentioned this to a couple of friends, they said I was being greedy and acting like I was planning for the marriage to fail. One even said I should be grateful she's offering to support me at all. I'm starting to wonder, am I being too cold or calculating about this? Stories number 3. What do I say to my 45F, BF, 44M, who doesn't seem to realize he's just broken up with me? I've been dating my BF for about a year. When I met him he had separated from his wife and they were going through a divorce, 8 months after separation. I don't usually date men who are only separated, but we just clicked. One thing I've asked from the beginning is whether or not he wants to have more kids because I'm child-free for medical reasons. He's always said he wasn't bothered either way. The relationship with his children is very strained and they don't like going to see him. Now the divorce is complete. I've warned him that the hill spiral, having had friends go through the same thing, which is usually why I don't date men in this period, but he was adamant he was going to be fine. He isn't, he's totally spiraling. I've suggested that he go back to therapy, but he doesn't want to. I've said not to just have these thoughts and feelings swirling around in his head and to talk if he needs to. He started talking to me about his feelings and one of them is that he wants to have more kids. Now, he said this in a stream of consciousness in a voice note. I'm on the waiting list for a hysterectomy. He's still texting as normal. How do I confront this? He doesn't really have anyone else to talk to, however our relationship is basically over in my head now. Sum of comments. Top comment, sounds like you just need to be upfront and honest. Tell him he wants more kids and you can't give that to him. You have broken up with him in your head, not him breaking up with you. Reply, thank you for replying. I think a conversation definitely needs to be had. Commenter, sounds like you need to break up with him. It is a shame how men tend to end up lonely due to refusing to invest in a social support network, but alas, women can only do so much for men. Break up and let him rely on a therapist to handle this life crisis of his. Reply, I've been urging him to reach out to old friends, but he doesn't seem to have anyone to have these kinds of conversations with. The strained relationship with his kids' therapy. Reply, you are indeed wise. So the relationship with his kids seemed awesome when we met. Then as the divorce arrangements picked up steam they started having a bit more attitude and asking questions about finances that I wouldn't expect from children. When I met he was in therapy, so I'm baffled as to why he's so against it now. It was actually one of the reasons I decided to see where this goes. We've had very frank discussions about the breakdown of his marriage and he has accepted what he believes is his part, and being from the same place as his wife, I could see things I would also find hard to deal with. Getting an outside view would be hard because his family are on his side. He's staying with his sister and they have been arguing because when his kids are being rude, she's trying to correct them and he's asking her not to. Commenter, since you've had friends go through divorce, you know that some of the things people say in this major transition are just thoughts, words. It's really important, for people going through divorce to get therapy. You can't assume he realizes the implications of his rantings. You can certainly point it out, if you want kids, that would mean we're incompatible. Not sure if you're just having thoughts or if you're expressing actual intentions. Reply, thank you for reminding me of this. It's a lot harder to remember when you're directly involved. What I don't want is for him to say what he thinks I want to hear so that he still has me around. Commenter, could it have been a statement made in a spiral? Is it possible that the emotional complexities are deeper than a metaphorical shot across the bow? It seems like a simple conversation to reaffirm your choices is the next step. Perhaps he's truly interested in having more kids, in which case the relationship is done. I wouldn't call it a healthy process to check out without talking first. Reply, I believe it was, because I got another text this morning saying that he doesn't want to have any more now. Commenter, does he realize that you actually don't want any kids? I am assuming this because you did not even mention it in your post. Because there are other options like adopting. Reply, oh yes. It is one of the first things I ask so as not to waste time. With my medical conditions, I wouldn't adopt. It wouldn't be fair. To another commenter, I have other health conditions and I don't think it's fair for children to have a parent who they will end up having to look after. I was that child and that isn't a childhood. To a longer comment, wow. You've written much more succinctly what I've been thinking. Honestly, up until yesterday, his values aligned with mine. We had very frank and open discussions about the breakdown of his marriage and how he contributed to that. He was in therapy. His visits with his kids were, from his description, great. He always puts them first and ensures he plans something they both enjoy as they both enjoy different things. I've had some health issues and he's taken care of me, challenged me to get up and about again. He's also thoughtful. He's not perfect by any means, but I do enjoy his company. As the divorce arrangements started to get hashed out, his children started asking questions that you wouldn't hear from a child. His ex asked him not to discuss anything with them, but the questions showed they were hearing something from somewhere. When the eldest said he was horrible for just walking out without saying goodbye, he corrected her and said it didn't happen that way. Obviously they went back and asked their mum because she ripped into him and then didn't let him see them for 3 weeks. Then their attitude started changing. Now I'm well aware I'm only hearing one side, but the difference between the visits even up to 6 months ago and now are very stark. Update post. Thanks for the answers. I replied to as many as I could, but eventually it got a bit repetitive. To those who never saw my replies and have the same questions, his kids were happy to see him when we met, but as the divorce became more acrimonious, they started to say things that, in my mind, children wouldn't typically say. If he had said anything about his children not wanting to see him when we first started dating, that would have been a red flag for me. Helping a friend through a divorce and listening to them go through various ideas is very different to the person you see doing it. Especially when they are talking about things that means the end of the relationship. Anyway, on to the update. We met up and I asked him if he was aware that he said he thinks he wants to have more kids. He said yes, it's a possibility. I said, you're aware that I'm on the waiting list for a hysterectomy? He said yes. I said, so you're aware that this essentially means we're over? He said, it doesn't have to mean that, we can continue to see each other until I make up my mind. People. I nearly fell off my chair. I stared at him and realized that he actually never knew me at all. Anyone who knows me knows I would never put up with this foolishness. I actually laughed and said, you want me to continue to see you while you decide whether or not you want kids? And then if you do, I should just meekly walk away. Does that sound like that's fair? He said no, but he loves being with me and doesn't want to lose me. I told him I was lost the minute he told me he might want more kids. I said I appreciate him telling me the truth, but the consequence of that means we're over. I told him what I'd have told a friend, sort out your relationship with the children you have before making new ones, and gave him book on that subject. I left and cried. I'm going to miss him a lot. He's been texting, but I may block him soon. Stories number 4. Aita for naming my son after me after his dad ghosted me in the hospital and tried to use me for a green card. I dated a Nigerian man for 6 months before finding out I was pregnant in January 2022. The relationship fell apart quick, cultural differences, emotional abuse, all of it. I decided early on I'd be a mom with or without him. Pregnancy was rough, depression meds, weight loss, mentally drained. Fast forward to September 2022, I give birth. Out of desperation and postpartum emotions, I reach out offering a DNA test and even told him he could name the baby. No response, calls, texts, voicemails, nothing. After 3 days in the hospital, I named my son myself. I still gave him one name his dad mentioned, but used my last name. Didn't know if dude was ever coming back, and I wasn't naming my baby after a ghost. 3 months later, he shows up, gets the DNA test, we reconcile briefly. His work visa expires, and he convinces me to marry him, claiming it'll extend his visa so he can provide for us. Promised couples therapy, family vacations, all the good stuff. What he didn't say was that I'd be applying for his citizenship. I felt played, like I'd been set up to get him a green card and possibly take my baby. I spiraled, got therapy, we broke up. Yes, I was wild too, don't ask, the answer is probably yes. I moved back in with my mom, kept things cordial, sent him pics of the baby, nothing major. Then on my son's first birthday, September 2023, I get served with a protective order out of nowhere. Shook me, not gonna lie. No contact for months, he misses both birthdays, but he sends $400 month. Cool, I was prepared to be a single mom. Here's the issue, now, 2025, he's demanding I change my son's last name and middle name to his tribal names. Claims it's about some inheritance in Nigeria. I told him I'd think about it if he could consistently show up for his son, said this back in November 2024. He just popped up last weekend after months and is still making demands. Aita for telling him no. My son's got my name. Period. Stories number 5. Me, 26F, with my best friend, 27F. I just got engaged and wanted to share the news and all she said was, relationships are trash. TBH, I'm kinda done with this relationship but wanted to check if I'm out of line first. I've been friends with Laura for like 15 years now. We went to college together and now live in the same city, though in different parts. Basically, we were single for a while together but after about a year of working my new job here, I met a boy and we fell in love. Yesterday after 3 years of dating he asked me to marry him. I was so excited and so OFC I went to tell Laura right away, and so I texted her a pic of my hand with the ring and she sent back, that's cool. Relationships are trash. I was a bit taken aback TBH. She can be rude, especially when someone else shares news that she doesn't have, like when I got my job she was still unemployed and told me that my job was a crappy temp one anyway. It wasn't temp at all, but when she got her job we had to have a big party to celebrate the start of her career. Anyway, I'm thinking of sorta ghosting her after this. I don't have very many friends so for my best friend to kinda crap on a special day made me really angry and sad. TLDR, my best friend crapped on my special day and I want to fade out. Am I out of line? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. When she asks why she's not in the wedding party, that's cool. Friendships are trash. Reply. LOL, that's cold, I like it. Commenter 2. Wow. With friends like Laura, who needs enemies? She's clearly peanut butter and jealous of your life accomplishments, viewing them as attempts to one-up her instead of opportunities to celebrate you. I think unless you're happy for your friendship to be a competition forever, you're better off without her. Fading out is the best and most mature thing to do, though the petty side of me would be tempted to text back with, and this is why you're still single and miserable. Do not contact me again and then block from everything. Reply. Ha. I like that too. I RLY wanted to say something nasty back but resisted it. You're totally right, I'm just going to fade out now. It sucks because she was my only real friend but I'm better off without her probably. Commenter 3. Once you have removed yourself from Laura, take another look at your other friendships. I think you'll find that you have far more real friends than you first thought. Reply. Ha, you're very sweet but I'm not kidding, I don't have any friends. Probably why I've kept her around for so long. Time to find a way to make some new ones then. Thank you for your kind advice. Update. It's been a few days since I posted here for advice and wanted to give y'all a follow-up since I got so many kind comments, and a few shitty ones. People can be mean. Anyway, a few of you gave me the courage to follow through with my decision to stop being friends with Laura. I didn't reply to her after she sent the original "relationships are trash" message for 2 reasons. 1, I was busy having fun with my new fiancé, I love saying that, and 2, I wanted to see if she would apologize. Surprise surprise, she texted me like 3 days later asking if I wanted to go dancing and I just wrote back, nah. She then sent me a long message about how hard it was to be my friend since I never wanted to do anything with her anymore because I was too busy with my shitty boyfriend. That was pretty much the last straw and I'll admit it, I was petty and just wrote back, that's cool. Your friendship is trash. Thanks Stuckhans for the suggestion. It felt great. After I posted here last time I did a lot of thinking and realized that I was the one who was actually looking out for us and trying to make the friendship work and Laura just used me to talk about herself and make herself feel great at the expense of other people. I'll be honest, I cried a lot after that because like I said I don't have a lot of friends and it hurt to realize my best friend didn't really care about me. But with the comments here and the help of my lovely Brian I realized I wasn't doing enough to love myself or allow myself to grow. So I signed up for some yoga classes and hope to meet some new friends there, and I've also decided to go to more of the events in our community to hopefully meet cool neighbors. Thanks for giving me the courage to love myself y'all. TLDR, my friend was treating me badly and I wasn't sure if I was overreacting. I wasn't, she sucks, we're not friends anymore and I'm not even sad about it now. Final comments. Commenter 1. Reply. Thank you for the advice. I think you were the first person to comment on my post and when I saw that first reaction I was like, wow, that's harsh, but then a bunch of other people chimed in on how I was justified in feeling like crap and so I thought if I could use that line I would. I never wanted to be the kind of person to hurt someone else on purpose but it definitely helped get something off my chest to use her own words against her. Commenter 2. Has she said anything since you basically called her trash? Reply. She sent back something like, wow, how could you say that to me, and I said, I've been asking myself that question for a long time. She's reached out a few times with, hey, but I really don't want to ever see her again. I realized how awful she made me feel and how petty she could be, and I decided it wasn't worth saving the relationship. Like seriously, she took a dump on my happy day and then asked to go dancing a couple days later like nothing had happened. She never looks at her own actions, and I was tired of making excuses for her to myself and my fiancé. Stories number 6. My 25F MOH 26F was cold and rude to me in front of my bridesmaids at my bachelorette. How do I talk to her about it? I had my bachelorette party this weekend with my MOH 26F and 5 other bridesmaids. MOH made several rude comments toward me, and at times toward other girls, in front of the whole group. I'm feeling hurt and nervous about how to handle it. For context, MOH and I have been best friends since college, about 6 years, much longer than I've known my other bridesmaids. I chose her as my MOH because we've been friends for so long and she's like a sister to me. As part of her role as MOH, she was in charge of planning the trip, but about 2 weeks before, several bridesmaids told me they hadn't received any info yet and were getting worried. I called MOH to check in and realized close to nothing had been planned. I figured she must be stressed out and needed support but was nervous about asking for it, so I suggested pairing her with another bridesmaid who's really good at trip planning to help. She seemed totally fine with this. Bridesmaid took charge of planning the key activities during the day while MOH planned everything else like where to eat and having a movie night. Fast forward to the trip. MOH was really excited about the decorations she bought. She wanted to deck out the Airbnb with decorations so that I could walk into a big surprise. She made it clear that she wanted to set up all the decorations alone. She said it would stress her out more to have other people trying to help. I asked if she was sure. She was, and we all respected her choice. We all had a much longer drive, so we were going to be getting there later anyways. Unfortunately, one of her big decorations didn't turn out as planned, and she was really upset about it. I really felt for her because I know I'd be upset too if I was in her shoes. So when I got there, I hyped up everything she did and told her that it all looked amazing, but I don't think it cheered her up that much. The next morning, she seemed to be feeling better, and we had a really sweet moment getting ready together. She even helped me do my hair and clip in my bridal bow, which was really sweet. But then at brunch, things got weird and uncomfortable for everyone. MOH and another bridesmaid were showing each other music, and I playfully recommended a song because me and another bridesmaid were joking around about it the night before. When I asked her what she thought, she very bluntly went, "I didn't like it." I laughed and said, "OMG, that was so rude," in a playful way to gently call her out while not making it awkward, but she just doubled down, "I'm not being rude. I just don't listen to shit like that." It was awkward and I was really hurt by her tone, but I let it go. But then, while I was mid-conversation with other bridesmaids, she interrupted to tell me that another girl also didn't like the song. At that point, I was just like, well, at least that was a little nicer. She doubled down again, insisting that she wasn't being rude, and I just said, "Okay," and turned back around. The rest of the trip, her mood was all over the place. Sometimes we were fine, other times she was distant. One night, while we were all hanging out and watching a movie, she just went to her room without saying anything. I went to go check on her before going to bed, but she looked like she was asleep and I had a killer headache from all the day drinking, so I just went to bed. The next morning, she was clearly in a mood again. At one point, she was asking if I wanted some plastic wine glasses we got from a winery. I said I wasn't sure but would take them if no one else wanted them, and she coldly said, "You said you wanted them." I never said this. I was kinda thrown off and said that I was just excited they were free but didn't say I wanted them, but she just goes, "Dude, if you don't want them, just throw them away." It was so weird and tense, and the other girls who were in the room were just silent and visibly uncomfortable. When we were all saying goodbye before leaving the Airbnb, I hugged her, thanked her for everything, and told her I had a great time, but she just kind of went, "Thanks." It felt off, but I didn't really know what to say, so I just kinda left it at that. One of the bridesmaids later brought it up to me, saying she was uncomfortable with how MOH treated me and that she seemed rude to others too, like when she was loudly making fun of one of the girls for how she put her bow on. There's a few other things that happened that made me and the girls uncomfortable, but this post is already super long, so I won't get into it. I'm super anxious about this situation, but I feel like I need to talk to her. I'm thinking of asking her for a phone call and asking if something was going on that she wasn't telling me. Then, after hearing her out, I'd tell her that I felt hurt and embarrassed by how she treated me in front of everyone and that I don't think friends should talk to each other like that. I also want to make it clear that this can't happen on my wedding day. Is the phone call a good idea? How do I ask for it? And how can I communicate to MOH how I feel and my expectations going forward without making things worse? Thanks. Edit. I want to follow community rules, so I won't be providing a full update with this edit. but wanted to quickly let anyone reading this post know that I ended up having a phone call with my now ex-MOH. It went horribly, as you can probably tell by the outcome, but it's for the best for everyone. Happy to provide a full update in a few days if anyone cares for it. But just wanted to add this here so no one feels the need to give advice on a situation that's escalated possibly beyond repair. LOL. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I would let it go if you can. For some people, travel, heavy socializing, and unfamiliar social expectations can result in a weird kind of anxiety that comes out badly for others. Mo found herself in a personally challenging situation and seems to have white-knuckled her way through it. Good for her, I guess. But you might be happier to reframe from her behaving weirdly toward you to her just behaving weirdly. Reply, I get what you mean. And reframing it that way does help me feel better. That's one of the reasons why I initially wanted to ask her if there was something going on that I didn't know about. I can sympathize with her if it was a result of stress and anxiety, but to be honest, I don't know if I can completely let it go. Or at least I could, but I worry about feeling worse from bottling it up and us having unresolved tension during the wedding. Our friendship has a pattern where she's more comfortable telling me that I've done something she didn't like, while I'm more conflict averse and tend to keep things to myself. We had a talk not too long ago about this, and we reassured each other that it was okay to talk about these things but to be kind and respectful about it. Commenter 2, if she truly is like a sister, you can have an honest conversation with her about what she was feeling and how she made you feel. Commenter 3, it sounds like you made the right decision to address the issue directly. Sometimes, friendships change, and it's important to prioritize your well-being, especially during such a significant time in your life. If you feel comfortable, sharing a full update could help others in similar situations. Update. After my last post, I reached out to my MOH through text asking if she was free to talk on the phone after work. Important background info, MOH and I had an agreement in our friendship that we'd let the other person know if they did anything that was hurtful or offensive and to not bottle things up. This was mainly to reassure me because while MOH was very quick to bring things up and ask for apologies, I am more conflict averse. This is important for later. MOH calls me after work and I start off by saying I felt some tension between us during the trip and wanted to ask if something was going on that I didn't know about. She immediately brought up brunch, saying I was condescending and embarrassed her. I told her I understood and apologized. Then, I brought up my own feelings about that same interaction and the way she spoke to me the last morning. She asks what exactly she did the last morning. So I gently explain the interaction with the wine glasses and how it made me feel. She insists I did say I wanted them. When I try to de-escalate, she cuts me off and is like, no OP, you did say that. You were just too drunk off your fucking ass to remember. You asked me to hold the wine glasses for you and I asked, other bridesmaid, what to do with them, and she said that she thinks you want them. For context, I was not too drunk to remember. This happened at the second vineyard we went to a total of 3. And I had only done 1 wine tasting and shared a second with 2 other girls at that point. So the total amount of wine I had by then was equal to about 1.5 glasses of wine. I may be a lightweight, but I am not that light. I was definitely happy and bubbly, but my memory was fine. Regardless, I repeat to MOH that it's okay if we're remembering things differently. I don't want this to turn into a back and forth on who was right and who was wrong. I just want to have a healthy conversation about how we were both feeling that weekend. And I was feeling hurt and embarrassed with the tone she was using when speaking to me, and she blows up. At this, she starts yelling and cussing me out. She's like, oh my fucking god OP, you've gotten way too fucking sensitive recently. Like, are you fucking serious right now? You're hurt about the wine glasses. Like, are you joking? You and fiancé have always been so condescending to me and I'm fucking sick of it. You look down on me and speak to me like I'm a fucking child. But you're hurt about some wine glasses. That's just ridiculous. Remember when I said we promised each other we'd be open and didn't bottle anything up? So yeah, naturally I was shocked and wondering why she never brought this up before. It honestly felt like she was just trying to flip the narrative to put the blame on me and make her the victim of the story. I also want to make it clear that fiancé and I have never looked down on her. We always try to validate her and reassure her as much we possibly can. We have only a handful of times tried to gently let her know that she maybe could have approached certain situations differently. Blowing up on a friend for asking her to please think carefully before she impulsively adopts another animal if she knows she can't take care of them. Letting a man who is a complete stranger into her home when she lives alone and cannot defend herself, showing up to an ex-situationship's home unannounced because she needed closure. I try to tell her that I'm happy to talk about those things calmly, but she interrupts me again and is like, yeah, let's fucking talk about it. Let's talk about how ungrateful you fucking are after I spent all that money on you and did all this shit for you and this is how you thank me. By getting so hurt over some fucking wine glasses. That's fucking stupid. Then she started ranting about how I locked myself in my room the morning of checkout. For context, again, I was not locked up in my room that morning. I was up at 8:30 a.m. getting ready, packing, and cleaning up my room. And I was much slower than usual because 1, I had a headache from day drinking, 2, it was daylight savings, and 3, the wind was howling all night. I would have been happy to help if someone knocked on my door and asked for an extra pair of hands or to use my bathroom. But no one did because no one needed to, which one of my bridesmaids confirmed. She said no one needed to use my bathroom. And there were at least 1 or 2 girls with free hands that could have been asked to help before anyone needed to ask me. By the time I finished my room and went to the main area, everything was already taken down and everyone was sitting on the couch ready to leave. MOH continues to call me too fucking sensitive and says at this point if I'm getting so hurt over stupid shit like this then it's a me issue and nothing to do with her. I decide it's time to end the conversation, so I say, the way you just spoke to me is incredibly mean, rude, and just disrespectful. I'm not going to do a back and forth with you on this. I'm ending the conversation now. I hope you have a good day, MOH. After that call, I immediately decided she was out of the wedding party. This was not friend behavior and it certainly wasn't MOH or bridesmaid behavior. But I was debating whether to give her time to reflect in case she had the maturity to apologize or to cut ties immediately. After discussing it with my fiancé and one of my bridesmaids, who were both shocked at her explosion, we agreed this needed to be the final straw. Later that evening, I noticed she had stopped sharing her location with me, which gave me the red flag that a block was coming, so if I wanted to send a message I should do so ASAP. So I sent a long text explaining that I was hurt and shocked by how she treated me. I apologized for making her feel embarrassed at brunch and thanked her for the effort she put into our friendship. But I made it clear, I don't tolerate being yelled at, cursed at, or disrespected by anyone. I told her we clearly see things differently. What she calls sensitivity, I see as kindness. Her reaction revealed how she really sees me and my fiancé, so I was removing her from the wedding as both a bridesmaid and a guest. I wished her well but made it clear I couldn't be part of her life anymore. She responded by unfollowing me on Instagram, and unfollowing my fiancé on Strava LOL, so I blocked her on everything, including Duolingo. I hope she learns and grows because she has given herself a reputation of blowing up on friends and causing drama at weddings, now 3, including mine. And yes, I did consider this when choosing her as a MOH, but there was some nuance with the pros and cons that I won't get into right now to spare y'all more words to read. To future wedding couples, choose your wedding party wisely. And if someone shows you their true colors, believe them. If they treat other people terribly, don't dismiss it and think they would never do the same to you because of what good friends you are. One day it will eventually be directed towards you. I may have made the mistake of including her, but I made the right choice by not letting her stay. TLDR, tried to have an open and respectful talk with MOH about her actions and even heard her out and apologized for some actions of mine that she brought up. But she ended up exploding and cussing me out, so she's been kicked from the wedding party and disinvited. Top comments. Commenter 1, I lost it at blocked her on Duolingo NGL. Commenter 2, me thinks she doesn't like it when the attention isn't on her and that's why she keeps ruining weddings. Commenter 3, honestly op, I would bet money you and your fiancé were not condescending, she was really tired of being told that she was handling things wrong, but also constantly flying off the handle and cursing and yelling at people won't solve her problems either. You made the right call, she was definitely going to blow up at you right up until you left for your honeymoon most likely. Commenter 4, just only reading this update, does anyone think that the MOH is jealous that friends around her are getting married and she's not there yet, so the jealousy and spitefulness is what led to the emotional outburst? Stories number 7. My 23F, husband, 25M, admitted that his younger brother yelled at him for how he treats me. Title, My 23F, husband, 25M, told me that he's turned off by me sometimes because I act like my mom. Thoughts? So we have been married 4 years now and our intimacy life has dwindled down to once every week or two. Any sort of intimacy is included in this. We started off our marriage with almost every day and I would love to continue that, but slowly over time, he's shown less and less interest, and so now it's basically I'm convenient when he is in the mood, so I just wait around until he's ready. Honestly, I hate it. It makes the experience so much less satisfying and I am struggling with body image. I've been trying to bring it up with him but usually he gets uncomfortable and avoids the topic, so I drop it. After a year of us only being intimate for a few times a month, I couldn't take it, so I sat him down and told him that we need to figure this out because I'm having a hard time enjoying the few sex we do have. He starts off saying, he doesn't want to say it because I'd get offended and I told him to just spit it out. So he tells me that I act like my mother, especially after I've seen her, and it turns him off. Of course, I got offended. My mother and I don't have the best relationship. Too much to go into, but I've only recently began healing from the trauma of childhood and started seeing her again. So this was like a punch to the gut. This isn't the first time he's mentioned that I act like my mother too, so I told him to never compare me to her again, but to please point out specific behaviors that he doesn't like instead. He instantly didn't want to talk about it anymore and kept telling me to drop it. I don't even know what to do about this, but I'm so hurt that he compares me to her. The only ways I've changed since we first started seeing each other is I have become more confident in myself as a woman since Eve become a mom. Otherwise, I don't think I changed too much. My body changed a little, but I didn't gain weight, so I hope it's not that. Maybe you all have some thoughts on this that could help me. I really want to work on it, but he doesn't want to go to couples therapy, so I'm trying to figure out what to do here. Commenter, you probably do have some mannerisms like hers. We all pick those up. They might not even be bad, but they remind him of her. So if he tells you that he doesn't like a particular behavior, it might not even be a bad thing by itself. Why wait when you could initiate yourself? Maybe get lingerie that would in no way remind him of her because it would change the vibe you give off. Reply, I have tried to initiate, but he sometimes looks visibly disgusted and gets mad if I initiate, so I stopped a while ago. It's so much more hurtful to be turned down than to wait until he's ready. Title, I, 23F, stopped relying on my husband, 25M, and I think it's making things worse. Advice? I'm sure you all have heard similar stories. My husband, despite multiple discussions over the past 2 years, never takes initiative in chores or anything in our lives. I'm constantly the one reminding him and asking him to do things, and when I don't, it doesn't get done. He told me he started hating me because of it about 6 months ago, so we both had an agreement that I will stop telling him what to do as long as he starts following up with his promises. I followed up on my end of the promise and he didn't within a few days. We agreed that since I wake up first to work out then make breakfast, he wakes up with our kid and takes her to daycare before work. After work, I pick up our kid and make dinner and manage the bedtime routine, and he cleans the kitchen while I do that. Every single day I walk out after bedtime to the kitchen not being touched. It's so disappointing and hurtful. Usually, I get upset at him and tell him that I really want the kitchen cleaned every day, and he just brushes me off saying he will do it the morning, 25% of the time he does. But since we had the agreement, I stopped. I just pretended to ignore the mess and would get ready for bed because by then I would have to get up in 7 hours. I let him be responsible for the mess because that's what we agreed on. 2 months later and our kitchen was always a mess. Constantly, we would have molded food on the stove, next to the sink, crumbs everywhere on the floor. So I gave up and started cleaning whenever I had time. I learned to cook and clean at the same time, stressful with a child, but I learned. Most of the time, there were a week worth of dishes and we have no dishwasher, so it took me a long time to catch up on washing the dishes. After bedtime, usually I'd be the only one cleaning. He would be laying in bed even though I wake up 2 hours before he does. He would literally yell at me about how I let the dishes get so stinky whenever he did wash the dishes, even though he agreed that he's responsible for cleaning after dinner. So I stopped relying on him and just started taking care of everything on my own. It's been 2 months of that mindset and I find it harder to respect him now. He seems like a child to me. Always complaining about everything and never puts effort. Always too tired and grumpy. Today, I was very excited because my husband brought up the idea of a movie night date. He never brings up date ideas or plans them, so it made me so hopeful. He said he would rent a movie and after bedtime we would watch it. I made a fancier dinner and put our kid down. Kid took a little longer to go down, but I was fine with it because I figured he would clean today so we can have a movie night. I was wrong, he didn't even bother to close the lids on the pans on the stove. He just turned off the lights in the kitchen. It felt like my heart broke and I cleaned the kitchen myself again. He walked out, didn't say a word and watched YouTube videos at the counter. Once I was done cleaning, we went to the bedroom and he just laid down and went to sleep. It hurt so much. I was so hopeful this time. He gets mad at me that I don't treat him like a man, but he never shows me he's reliable. I'm always hurt by his actions. Anyway, any advice on what I should do? Sum of comments. Commenter, yeah, OP seems like a pretty together person, gets up early to work out, works, cooks every night, manages the evening routine for a small child. She would probably be fine on her own without this guy creating messes and being shitty to her. Reply, thank you, I genuinely needed to hear this. I'm trying really hard to be a good example to my girl. Commenter, when my husband did this, I put the dirty dishes on the bed and slept on the couch. He cleaned it all up. I don't think yours would do that, he'd probably put them on the floor and go to sleep. If you're not going to leave, lock up all of the dishes, and start using paper plates and disposable utensils. Only make one-pan recipes. Better yet, stop cooking for him altogether. Reply, no, he would probably get aggressive with me. I could never do something like this. Loudly crying face. He gets aggressive when I do harmless pranks like put a whoopee cushion on the couch he sits on. Commenter, when you say aggressive, what do you mean? Reply, raises his voice, his face and body language gets scary and aggressive. He's threatened violence before and I was physically abused as a child, so it freaks me out. He's never outright hit me before though. What he does and also sex. Reply, he's great about laundry. He will fold his own stuff away but won't touch mine, but at least he does it. As for cleaning, he doesn't touch anything unless specifically asked. Sex life is unsatisfactory in my opinion, but I take what I can get. I've tried for past few years to spice things up, but he is content at going at it 2 or 3 times a month and each time lasts 5 minutes. Work schedules. We both work 40-hour weeks. I work in management and he's an office worker. I do all the household jobs except putting up shelves and mowing the lawn. LOL. Commenter, after all this you are asking for advice? You know what you have to do, get rid of that 150-pound sandbag you're carrying. Your life will 1000% improve. Reply, at the time I wrote this post I felt insane guilt for even considering divorce. By the time I got reading all the replies and to writing this comment, I realized how badly I really am being treated. It's liberating and enraging at the same time. I'm start planning to leave him. Follow-up post on her own page, 14 hours later. Title, I'm realizing how horrible I'm treated after posting on relationship advice. This is just a vent post of some of the things my husband does. I guess I have brushed off for a long time. Told me he want to punch me so bad and threatened beating me up during a breakdown of his. I asked him to show me that he loves me. Said he wants a punching bag so he doesn't hit me instead. Told me if I leave him, he will kill himself. Every year on my birthday, he makes me cry and gets aggressive. His eyes are almost black. When he gets mad, it scares me. He knows it and stares at me down when I try to talk to him. I have a recording of him going off on me about how he hates me and that he wants to push me off the bed most nights. If I start crying around him, he gets annoyed and will say things like, "Why are you crying again?" and physically restrain me during anxiety attacks because I don't want to be near him. Right after I gave birth to my daughter, he fell asleep and slept through the night. I was awake for over 24 hours before labor and couldn't sleep after because the baby was awake and I was having severe anxiety. When I tried to wake him, he glared at me and went back to sleep. This particular event has stuck with me for the past 2 years. He showed me no care or extra attention after having my baby. He stayed home for a week and didn't do anything at home. I still cooked and cleaned and took care of everything with the newborn. I fainted 3 weeks postpartum and he got mad at me for not eating enough, but I just had no energy to make myself food. When I tried to tell him I was struggling mentally after the baby at 3 months postpartum, he turned it to a rant about how I never did laundry or make food on time, and it ended up with me saying I'll try better. This asshole, looking back, didn't apologize for his lack of effort. Ever. He completely ignored my struggling mentally after the baby. I would cry every day for almost a year and he never once tried to be caring and attentive to me during this time. I was so sleep deprived and depressed that I couldn't pull myself out of it until I started working at about a year after. He got better at helping out at home, but he blames his lack of a proper father figure for his incompetence. Yet will blow up on me if I use the same excuse, lack of proper mother figure, when I make a mistake, constantly criticizing everything I do. I ask him a question and it becomes a jab about something completely unrelated. Anyway, I can go on and on. I'm shaking with rage right now as I'm realizing how long I've dealt with him. Commenter, did he show this behavior before you got married and had kids with him? Reply, he definitely showed some signs when I look back at our relationship. Another one I forgot to add, when I told him about when I got assaulted he literally got up and left. Gave me the silent treatment for a week. My dumbass thought it was my fault for telling him. This was when I was 19. So we were together for a year at that point. Somehow, I kept ignoring how he would get mad so quickly and I didn't notice when I started walking on eggshells around him. But he started the violent part this year, so I didn't see that coming at all. Update post. First of all, I did not expect the post to blow up. Thank you to everyone who gave their advice. I tried to read every reply. I have been asked a lot for an update, so I'll just give what's happening now. I didn't leave him. Yet, at least. After that post, I had a surge of confidence and really was planning on leaving him. Suddenly though, he woke up one morning and it was like he was a different man. I'm not exaggerating, he was drastically different. He made breakfast for me while I was working out, he helped with making lunch and kept kissing me and sent me off to work with an "I love you." I thought for sure it would stop by the time he got home later, but it didn't. He went from a man who was angry every morning and angry when he came home from work, to a sweet and loving man, overnight. It was weird at first, but after a full week of being shown affection to, all my plans for leaving crumbled and I was lost. He started working overtime and I started working part-time, so the issues of house chore divide ceased. Plus, he cleaned the kitchen now while I put the child down, which was the main issue. It's been 3 weeks and I feel like I'm living in a dream and I have no idea what to do. I still haven't told him that I plan to leave him. I don't know if I will or not. I can't help but feel suspicious, like there's some hidden motive to this. He even planned a date night and showed me affection after. He never does that. I keep expecting for his usual aggression to pop out of nowhere. Sometimes he still looks at me with those scary eyes, but he doesn't talk or do anything aggressive anymore. I feel unsettled by all this in a way. My mental health has been spiraling too. I just feel so lost. Today he was upset because I slept in and it's making me feel so anxious for some reason. He wasn't aggressive or yelling, but I'm scared to piss him off and he will go back to how he was. So that's where I'm at right now. Thank you for everyone who took the time to help me, and I'm sorry if this update wasn't what you hoped for. Sum of comments. Commenter: how would you feel about talking to him about what you've noticed about his change in behavior, and asking him what's prompted it? I, too, would feel unsettled by a sudden and drastic change in my partner's behavior, even if it's for the better. Reply: honestly, I'm scared that if I mention it then he will stop or get upset. Commenter: keep making plans to protect yourself because the change may not be permanent. He may have noticed you didn't care anymore and decided to correct himself. It doesn't hurt to be protected both ways. Reply: I will, thank you. So far I do have a little bit in my personal savings, I'm grateful for that. In response to a longer comment: he's never hit me, but he's gotten aggressive with my things and threatened to be violent to me before. He gets scary when he's angry, but he's never actually hit me. I was heavily abused as a child, so maybe the trauma is affecting the way I perceive things, I don't know. He has been seeing a therapist now too, and maybe like you said that's what brought this on. Thank you for the detailed reply, I will have to talk to him tonight. Mini update in comments, November 8, 2024, 2 weeks later. Hi, I'm doing okay. Mental health is bad but otherwise I'm good. I have an emergency plan, but I'm staying for some reason. I'll post if I do leave. Update post 2, January 2nd, 2025, almost 2 months later, 3.5 from OG post. Title: My 23F husband, 25M, admitted that his younger brother yelled at him for how he treats me. My husband and I have relationship issues. I have been hesitant to leave him, mainly for the fact that we have a child together, but also I care for him a lot. He got really dark a few months ago. Did and said a lot of things that hurt me, but didn't directly hit me or do anything in front of our kid. I was ready to leave him because throughout our relationship, he never really treated me that great and I think I was just at my limit. But when I tried to leave, he broke down and begged me to stay, so I did. He changed since. He's been treating me like an equal being. He's been going to therapy for 4 months now consistently. He started opening up to me about things he didn't before. I've been noticing that overall, he seems so much warmer to others, not just me. Recently, we were driving and conversation about his little brother came up, he's 22, and I was telling him about some things that his brother told me about his girlfriend. My husband randomly admitted that his brother told him to treat me better. I was shocked because I didn't think that anyone noticed or thought of our relationship like that. I never said a word to anyone. I asked him what happened and he seemed embarrassed and brushed it off, saying that his brother just kinda yelled at him that he doesn't treat me like a woman. The crazy thing is that my husband admitted to not treating me well to me then too. I didn't know what to say, so that was the end of the conversation. Since then, he's been bringing things up randomly, asking what I like and how I would like to be treated. My question is, how do I respond to this? Or do I just let him be to do his thing? My usual response is to just brush it off or say, whatever you want, honey, but I've been growing a bit of self-confidence, so I don't want to brush it off anymore. I'm also just still shocked that someone said something to my husband, I guess. I didn't know what to think of it. Got nobody to talk to about it. Update post 3. Title: My 23F husband, 25M, got berated by my friend about his behavior to me while I wasn't there. We had my husband's best friend and his wife over yesterday. We don't usually drink or stay up late, but they came over after we put our child down and they had left their child with in-laws for the night, so it was our first time being child-free together since we had kids. My husband has been best friends to this guy since before he met me. And I've always liked his wife and have been getting pretty close to her in the past year, and we even called each other best friends now. Well, we stayed up late and had a very good time. Eventually at about 1:30 a.m., my daughter woke up, so I left and called it quits by that time. I was done drinking and was getting tired, so I laid down with my daughter and fell asleep in her room. My friend came into my daughter's room and told me she wanted to talk really quick. She admitted that she started telling him a thing or two about how she feels about him and that he started crying. She said she apologized to him and she apologized to me too and said maybe she had too much to drink and shouldn't have said anything. I just shook my head and told her that maybe it was just getting late for all of us, and after a hug, they left. My husband just went straight to bed without saying anything, so I figured I would bring it up later. Today, my husband is being so grumpy. I woke up with my daughter and let him sleep in, but at about 11 a.m. I told him that I needed him to get up so we could clean and wash up before church, our usual Saturday routine for the past 3 years. I told him after we clean we can take a nap with my daughter if we're still tired. Well, it took him 30 minutes to get out of bed. When he finally got up, he just laid around and would go on his phone. I constantly kept asking him to get up because it was late. He wouldn't answer me every time, and at some point I got tired of nagging and stopped. He just laid around while I cleaned. Finally, I sat down for a little and asked him about yesterday, and he grumbled that I told my friend that he's a horrible person, so she was berating him. I was shocked and said no, I never told her anything about our relationship. She's my friend, yes, but I don't talk about my marriage problems to anyone. So I told him and he just shrugged and said that she said something along the lines of he doesn't treat me well and that he should learn to grow up. Funny thing is, his behavior today just stands out, knowing what she said to him. In my head, I wanted to tell him off that what she said was true, but I didn't. I just told him that I'm glad my friend has my back, but I swear what she said is from her own assumptions of our relationship. He said she probably misunderstood something I said. I think it's interesting that I found out not long ago that my husband's younger brother also yelled at my husband about his behavior, past post. It makes me feel more confident in myself about my feelings for him and our marriage. I'm tired of being the bigger person all the time. I'm already 1 foot out the door and he doesn't even seem to try to make me stay other than cry. Edit to add, she told me a few days later that while he was crying he started talking about how I make him do everything and that I'm such a liberal. WTF does that even mean? Comments. Commenter, geez, you missed a perfect opportunity to actually tell him that her assessment is accurate. Why are you reluctant to tell him he's a crappy partner? Reply, I don't know. It's hard. I hate to make him feel bad about himself even though he doesn't hesitate to call me a bad partner. I'm also scared he will use it against me somehow. Top commenter, girl. I was ready to lose it with this post, but then you mentioned the BL post, and when I went to see it saw your post history including the one detailing not just mental abuse but your husband's threats of physical abuse. You need to stop posting to Reddit every other week and gather the advice from basically every post and take it to heart. I know it sucks, but this man does not love you, respect you, or even care about your well-being. This man actively hates you and then manipulates you into believing that's your fault, comparing you to your mother so you feel guilty and unlovable, while also manipulating you into doing all the domestic labor. This relationship is not salvageable and your life can only improve by you admitting that and packing your bags. That all said, leaving an abusive situation is dangerous, so please contact a domestic violence hotline to create a safe exit plan, especially given that his past threats. Reply, you're right. I appreciate the time you took to read and write this. I already have an emergency plan in place, just am struggling to find the courage to actually go ahead with it. Thank you. I really needed to hear this. Update post 4. Title, My, 23F, husband, 25M, admitted that his younger brother yelled at him for how he treats me. Update, I left him. So I left him, everyone was right about him. I'm safe, with my daughter and my little brother. It's been a few weeks since I left. Even after I posted last time, I won't lie. I still had hope for this man. What made me decide to leave was the fact that, despite him verbally abusing me, later threatening to physically abuse me, he acted like I was the one who needed to bend over and apologize to him. It wasn't that he treated me bad that was the reason I left. It was the fact that he was stomping around and acting like a child, yelling at me and my daughter and making her feel anxious. I still tried to be nice. I tried to talk to him. I asked him what's wrong and he just gave me that look that he always does. I don't know how to explain it, but it makes me feel so small, and he doesn't break his gaze or say anything, he just stares until I have to look away. It felt like a switch in me and mentally, I was gone. That night, I put my emergency plan in place, because I already had one from a time he threatened me months ago, and a few days later I was physically gone while he was at work. I'm not going to give details because of the possibility he can see these, but I have a new job, new apartment, at a new city however and wherever I want. It's so freeing. My daughter couldn't care less and it somehow makes me happy but also deeply sad. I should have done this a month ago, 6 months ago, 1 year ago. She's just happy that she gets to go to a park more often now with her uncle. My brother confided that he's happy he doesn't have to hear him yell anymore. My family keeps calling me. My mom telling me I'm making a big mistake and I'm embarrassing myself. I'm not even going to bother explaining myself or my side of the story. His family keeps calling me too. His mother apparently is in the hospital because of a stress-induced attack from this. My sister-in-laws sent me nasty texts and called me until I blocked them. My now ex keeps calling me too. I hate it. It makes me feel sick to my stomach. My brother-in-law only sent me one text and it says, "Good for you, I hope find a better life." It makes me feel somewhat comforted with this whole situation. I hope he's right though, so that's my update. This will be my last time posting on here. I'm probably going to delete my account actually, and plus I'm completely done with relationships and will probably never get into one again, but thank you to everyone who took time to comment and message me. I seriously feel like each one slowly built my confidence bit by bit. I know I'm a bad person for not doing it on my own, so I thank all of you sincerely for helping me. I owe everyone my new life. I wasn't going to post at first, but it feels nice to get this all off my chest. I feel like I'm going to explode with pent-up emotions lately. Edit to add. By the way guys, I lied in all my posts about my age. I'm actually 21. I'm not sure why I lied, but it's nice to be out there about it. I'm 21. Equals comments. Commenter, I call BS on his mom's in the hospital because of the stress. If it isn't a lie then that kind of overdramatic reaction is reason enough to GTFO. Proud of you. Reply, no, she actually has been at the hospital very frequently because of stress. Her husband is the original. My husband acts exactly like his father. Except his father is worse. She works, does all the parenting and housework while her husband and all the kids watch TV game. Nobody ever tries to help her and so she ends up in the hospital from exhaustion and stress. I feel bad for her because I already know my ex probably ran back to her crying. But I also don't feel bad for her because she also left me nasty messages that I ruined him and his life. Sue. Answers to some questions. I don't have custody of brother, but my brother has lived with me for the past 2 years now. I have records of it too, so I'm debating to make it official soon. I was 19 when I had my daughter and was 17 when we got together. I didn't lie about his age. Commenter, now that you're the age that he was when you all got together, could you imagine dating a 17-year-old? Reply, F no. OOP's family. Oh no, I already know that it doesn't matter what I say, my family will never take my side, that's why I'm not even trying. I've tried to mention his behavior a long time ago and my mom told her whole family exactly what I said. I'm working with a professional so that my mother never gets my child or brother in her hands even if I'm out of the picture. My sister is hoping to get some work and college things figured out and she will be here with me for the summer. At least I have her as my backup. To another commenter, I have my little sister who is 18 and she has always been on my side. Editor's note, OOP also wrote a post about how she was parentified from a young age. Due to character length I couldn't include it, but the link to it is here. She posted in March 10th, 2 days before the final update post. She also revealed her true age in it and walked through the timeline. Stories number 8. Aita for telling my husband he works for himself, not for our family. My husband and I have known each other for 6 years and been married for almost 3 years now. We have a 1-year-old, and we're expecting another baby. Our marriage has been full of emotional highs, we love each other and let the other know regularly. My husband has a 9-to-5 job after which he is also a tutor. He had started this back when we were in college, and it was never an issue, he always had enough time. Even in the years leading up to the marriage and the first year of our marriage, this was never a big issue. However, in the last year or so it's become a big issue, and it's getting worse. He keeps on adding more classes to his schedule. Until last month we had a red line that no classes on Sunday, he would devote that entire time to us. But last month he even added a class on Sunday on the excuse that exams are starting. It started to feel like me and my son weren't a priority to him anymore. Some days he comes home at 11. On other days he's doing it online, but that's not much better because he still can't give us any time. Last Sunday, I finally spoke out and told him he was neglecting his family. He was offended and told me that he doesn't enjoy having to work so hard, but he's doing it for our family. This is where I told him that no, I think he does enjoy it, it gives him an excuse to not spend time with us, and that he was doing this for himself, not for us. As things currently stand, our collective income is more than enough, there really was no need for him to add more classes on top of his existing ones, he's doing it for himself at this point. He's literally busy Monday through Saturday and now he's trying to cross the red line we established for Sunday. We've been on bad terms since this fight. He keeps saying he can't believe that I said he works for himself, not for us. Aita here. Relevant comments. Comment 1. My ex was like this. After many years I realized he was avoidant. He also liked playing the victim and sacrificing so much for the family. He got lots of praise for it. We didn't need the extra money either. All he sacrificed was a marriage and a decent relationship with his children. I hope you can help him see that. Maybe counseling together. Ick. It sucks though. Comment 2. I don't understand the why TA on this. The man is hardly ever home. They don't need the extra money. He is missing out on time with his child. His wife is feeling sad. Why is he doing it if not for himself? He's clearly not doing it for them. Comment 3. It's going to be hard and you're going to have to grit your teeth through it, but if he is working all the time to support his family. Love the man and cherish the little time you get with him. He's grinding to support y'all. Would you rather you spend all the time in the world together and living in squalor or on the streets? Please support him while he supports his family. Hell, have you told him you're proud of him working so hard? Replies. I have a 9-5 job too, and like I said our collective income covers our expenses and then some. If that weren't the case of course I wouldn't be angry, I would understand. But given the situation, the fact that he took away the one day we get together just because it's exam season really got to me. I also want to make clear I absolutely appreciate how he provides for us to give us a great standard of living. And I've told him this many times. But now it feels like he's adding more work to disengage. Comment 4. Info. Did he grow up lower income? His father may have worked himself to the bone to keep them above water. So it may be all he knows. Replies. No, both his parents are doctors. That was certainly not the case. Comment 5. Info. I see where you're coming from but I gotta ask, you sound like you feel secure about your financial situation. But does he? You're expecting another kid. You have a 1-year-old with another on the way. I don't know where you're based, but certain regions are more expensive than others for families to live in. Based on just that information alone, there could be plenty of thought put behind whether or not you guys have the financial stability for the future. You clearly think so, but does your husband? Have you ever had that conversation with him, fruitfully, honestly, about the objective truth of your financial stability and his and your thoughts on it? Replies. Yes, we had that discussion before. We talked about how since we're already comfortable, there shouldn't be any need to have a class on Sunday. In fact at the time, I also thought he should cut down on his existing classes but relented on the Sunday agreement. I didn't think the numbers were important, but a lot of comments, not you, seemed to doubt my judgment that we're stable. I'm an accountant who makes $70,000 a year. My husband is a software engineer who makes around over $100,000. And based on how many students he teaches and how many classes he has, he makes over $100,000 from that. Our household income covers our expenses. I'm an accountant, this is kind of my bread and butter. Update 1. Thank you for the feedback in the last post. The comment said that me asking him to adhere to the boundaries we established was reasonable. Some comments also suggested that I should not have implied that he works just to get away, so I was a little apologetic as well. After he came back I decided to talk to him about this. The conversation was a bit of a train wreck. I brought up the fact that our income far exceeds our current and projected expenses. That me and our son were missing him, and needed him to spend more time with us, and I made sure to stress that I appreciated all that he did. It just seemed like we were on completely different wavelengths. He said he kept on taking more lessons and students because he wanted us to have a good standard of living, have better vacations, better schools, a second house. I was dumbfounded. I never knew he felt that way. I stressed our current standard of living was great, we make enough money, and that if he thinks that way there's no end in sight. What if he decided we should also have a third house or something? Right now I needed him with me. At this point, I kind of lost control and started crying. I didn't mean to, it wasn't something I wanted to do to pressure him or anything, just the fact that we were at an impasse was wrecking me. I told him I'd been feeling unhappy, that I kept compromising and he reneged on it. After some more crying and consoling, my husband agreed that Sunday should have remained off limits. He gently asked me to give him a pass for one more Sunday, because his students' exams end next week, and he would make Sunday untouchable the following semester onwards. He also promised to try to resize his classes in order to be able to come back home for dinner even if it's late dinner. He asked for time to do all this. I've given it to him and I know he loves us enough to do what he promised. Thanks for the feedback to the original post. Relevant comments. Comment 1. You need to tell him that he needs to get right with his family and you right now. Or he might be living in that third house alone. Play him, Cats in the Cradle, as background music. Replies. I would like the changes to happen immediately but I want those changes to be permanent. If he does something at a snap right now but has to go back, that would suck. So I'm just giving him the time to make those sustainable changes. I'm getting our Sunday back after the next one, which is progress. At least we're back to the red line. He said he'd already booked a lot of classes for the next semester, so he just asked for time to discuss and rearrange them since he can't just say no to his students after agreeing. He was earnest. I believe I made it known to him the toll it's been taking on me, and he will make the necessary changes. Comment 2. Did he explain why he had these feelings of needing more? Is it because the new baby is coming and this is like some weird financial nesting? Or did this start well before you were pregnant? I understand him needing a little time to readjust to the old schedule, but I don't see what caused it in the first place. Replies. That's kind of where we weren't getting through to each other. He kept saying that he wants our family to have a good lifestyle, while I kept saying that we're already in a place where we aren't lacking anything except him in the house. He finally understood that that's what our son and I need from him right now. I know I had told him last week that I think he does this just to be away from us, which I feel shitty about, but it's just that his tutoring hit critical mass close to when our son was born. I know the number of students and classes had been increasing steadily over the years, and maybe we should have set boundaries from the start, but it's gotten too much now. Comment 3. Op. You did a good job and took an important first step. I think it would be unrealistic for him to do a complete 180 after this conversation, and this is a necessary stepping stone. I'm usually very negative about relationships, but it disheartened me to see all the top comments being so negative when you took the time to update us and you didn't need to. I hope things continue to improve for you. Replies. Thank you. I had thought I did good, and then found out a lot of people here disagreed, so I started doubting how I did. I appreciate what everyone is saying, but he's a loving husband, friend, and father. It's just this one issue that's just gotten out of hand. I can't think of packing my bags. I believe he was neglecting us, but during the conversation realized he didn't know the extent to which it was affecting us. The classes issue has been getting bigger and bigger over time, so I realize fixing it will require some time. I'm just going to make sure I see him do it. Comment 4. Have you guys considered hiring a maid nanny to help with household duties? If you're making enough money, it could be worth the investment to reduce your burden. OP replies, yeah, that came up in the conversation and I'm looking into it. My job is WFH 2 days of the week, so that helps, and my mom lives close by, which is super helpful too. Most days I manage the household and child rearing without any issues. Like, it's not like I plan to give him a list of errands to run on the days he's in the house, but him just being physically present is something I'm missing now, and he's promised to remedy it as well he can. Comment 5. The biggest problem I see is that his self-worth is being validated by his students and classes, more than by his own family. He likes how teaching makes him feel, and he doesn't get the same validation from being just a husband and father. So, he will continue to prefer working as much as he can. And it's a double whammy because he justifies the extra work is for his family, so he feels doubly validated for doing good things. OP replies, your comment stayed with me for some reason, and I kept coming back to it. I asked him yesterday if he enjoyed teaching physics and math for hours on end, that he works so long, how does he not start hating it? I didn't bring up the topic of reduced hours or Sunday because we already have an agreement on that for now. He said he does like it. After some more inconspicuous needling, he told me he enjoys the fact that so many people trust that he can make them understand stuff and better their grades future. I didn't go further into it. But your comment really helped give me some insight. Thank you so much. Final update. Around a year ago I had been having issues with my husband regarding his tutoring schedule and had come here to know if I was in the wrong. A few people had asked me to let them know if things improve or continue to deteriorate. We're in a better place now. We've been blessed with a daughter now too. He has become better at handling his workload and tutors primarily online now. I know I had said at the time that that's not much better, but it really is. Sundays have become sacrosanct again, with very rare exceptions that he asks my approval for in advance, and Wednesdays are free now too. He does more group tutoring now and so gets done by 8:30 most days too. He also got a new day job which is entirely WFH, which has made things much better because he isn't so burnt out anymore. In the weeks following up to my daughter's arrival, he'd been by my side, especially since she arrived during the summer when school is out, that I also took some advice from here and hired help to ease the burden, which has worked out really well. I've also learned to embrace the fact that his tutoring gives him joy, which maybe his software development job doesn't. He seems to be proud when his students get into good universities, and that it results in even more students. He still claims to do it for purely financial reasons, but I know that can't be completely true, because our financial needs really do not require it. So it must be something he enjoys. So I've become more understanding on that front too. I have had to put my foot down a few times though, especially in the initial days following our conversation, to make sure he understands that I was serious about needing his presence more. I had also confided in his older sister about this issue, which he was not happy about at the time and was probably an accidental move on my end, but it helped. They had an argument. She straight up told him he was either going to end up working his way into an early grave at the age of 30 or ending up divorced, which helped. Full disclosure, the only time we ever really argue is still about this, when I'll want him to be free but he won't be. But it's rare, and overall we've come up with a good balance that seems to be working for us. Thank you. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I think my questions are, is he missing things? What do you need support with? What's the actual crux of the issue? I read your posts and it speaks to a lot of how you feel, but, and apologies if I missed it in the comments, but is he actually not pulling his weight at home? Is he missing important events? I agree it's important to spend time together as a family unit, but usually when working on improving relationships, feedback needs to be specific and actionable. Reply. We don't get to have our evening tea where we used to decompress, except on Wednesdays and Sundays. I know that doesn't sound like much, but I really enjoy that, and it's unfortunate he's not missing that. Sometimes he'll miss dinner, but he really tries to avoid it, I know. As far as important events go, all of our friends and family now know that Saturdays don't work for us, so they avoid it if possible. But the other day a family friend had a gender reveal party on Saturday and my husband couldn't accompany me. Little things like that still happen. If I'm being very honest, when my son was born, I had a picture in my mind of what our house would look like after 5 p.m. It involved my husband always being there and us all having quality family time. The fact that that didn't happen is what my real issue is. I know life gets in the way, but I'm concerned about how we're developing our bonds as a family sometimes. As far as chores go, we've hired some help and my mom being close really helps too, so that's not too big of an issue. Comment 2. This is so sad. Imagine having to go through all of this to force your spouse to spend time with you and your kid. It's sad that your idea of better is still him barely being around except for 1 full day a week. At the end of the day, if the choice was up to him, he would rather spend time tutoring than with you and his own child. That's because he's not doing it for money like he said. He's doing it so he doesn't have to be around you guys. It's so sad that you've accepted it. Comment 3. It sounds as if the situation is still sort of a work in progress, but is getting more positive for both of you and resentment isn't growing on either side. That's good, and congratulations on your daughter. Stories number 9. Aita for not taking down an X-rated book when my ex's GF asked me to. Last year, I, 24F, wrote an erotic novel to make some money on the side. It ended up picking up traction and makes a fair amount of sales every month. I'm not living off the income, but it helps pay some bills every month while I'm getting my master's. A lot of the book was inspired by my boyfriend at the time. He knew I was writing it and it was often a joke between us that he had to give me more to write about. He read the book before I self-published it and gave it his seal of approval. I wouldn't have published it if he'd been uncomfortable. The character doesn't resemble him in personality or appearance and there are no hints that would give away who my inspiration was. I wrote under a fake name too, so it's unlikely to be traced back to him at all. We broke up 6 months ago, but we keep in touch. We've been friends for a while, and the split was mutual, so there are no hard feelings. I knew that he had started seeing someone over the summer, and I guess he told her about the book because she approached me at the library yesterday and asked me to take the book down. She said it makes her uncomfortable knowing that people can read details about our sex life. I asked her if my ex was uncomfortable with it, and she said he was. I told her I would take it down. That night, I texted my ex and told him I was sorry the book made him uncomfortable and that I would take it down as soon as I could. He had no idea what I was talking about. He said it didn't make him uncomfortable, and that I didn't need to take it down. He cracked some jokes about how he was glad I was still profiting from his hard work. When I told him his new girlfriend had approached me, he said that she did think it was weird, but it wasn't her call. Today, I was eating lunch and the girl came up to me again. She started saying that I was disrespectful for going behind her back to talk to her boyfriend. Side note, I talk to my ex semi-frequently anyways, and that I was disgusting for ever publishing the book. She also said that it was gross I was involving other people in my exhibitionist kink unwillingly. I let her talk for a bit and then told her she was overreacting. I said I did it to make money, not because I derived pleasure from it, and that the book's publication is between me and my ex. It doesn't involve her. She called me a bitch and stormed off. I know it's kind of weird to have a book out there with details about me and my ex's sex life, but I don't really want to take it down because it's a good source of income. Top comments. Commenter 1. NTA. Her insecurities are not your issue. Commenter 2. Exactly this. And if she's so insecure, why read a book about her BF's sex life with his ex? Face with tears of joy. Commenter 3. Involving people in my exhibitionist kink unwillingly. Seeking erotic novels out and paying for them is hardly unwilling. She's the one going around her boyfriend's back in order to get her way. Let those kinky dollars roll in. NTA. Edit. Hey guys, it's been a doozy of a day. First, thank you everyone for the replies. I made the post when I was questioning my sanity over the situation, and your comments brought me back down to earth. Some answers to questions. I don't know why he told her about that book. Since the post, I've told him it's something I would like to keep between the two of us. I feel like if anyone in my master's program finds out, I'll be taken much less seriously. If you're interested in self-publishing, try Amazon and do some reading about keywords. There are tons of blogs on it. I won't be giving out the name of the book, as it gets very, very kinky, and this post has gotten a lot of views. I fear someone finding the story on other websites, on the off chance I made it, hi TikTok, and making the connection, especially considering I don't know who else my ex has told. I have no idea how this girl keeps finding me. I'm on campus every time, so I assume it's just by chance, as she's in a master's program as well. Final update. An update. Shortly after I made the post, I got on Amazon to look at my book and noticed I'd gotten an influx of bad reviews. I checked the reviews and found some buzzwords that my ex's GF had used. Thankfully, I'm fairly certain I can get these removed. I'm also concerned because Amazon takes a few days to process reviews, so I don't know how many more of these will be coming. I decided to call my ex and let him know what was happening. I told him about his GF confronting me, calling me a bitch, how she initially lied to me about his feelings, and now the bad reviews. He was floored. I don't think he had seen that side of her personality. My ex is an all-around great guy and he was very apologetic. He said he would talk to her about it. He said he didn't tell her the name of the book, but he did have it on his Kindle, so she must have snooped and found it. This morning, I was getting a coffee in the student center, and the girl walked up to me and started screaming at me. Apparently she and my ex broke up and she blamed it on me. I didn't know what to do, so I just took off walking to my car. She started calling me a slut and a whore, and a pervert. Nothing in the book is that bad, especially if you like erotica already. She followed me out of the building, but thankfully stopped chasing me once I hit the parking lot. I was shaking and I called my ex again. He ended up coming to sit in my car with me until I calmed down. We considered calling the campus police, but I didn't want to explain it to them, so he walked me back inside. She was there, but when she saw my ex with me, she didn't yell. She burst into tears and said she knew he was cheating. He told her to leave me alone, he hadn't cheated, factual, and that he broke up with her because she was too jealous and immature. She seemed flummoxed and left. Ex bought me a coffee and we discussed filing a police report if she approaches me again. So, yeah. That's pretty much it, I hope. Definitely feels like sequel material, although I'm a bit lacking in the physical inspiration part these days. Stories number 10. I fell more in love with my wife last weekend. My wife, 34, and I, 33, have only been married for a year but together almost 5 years. We attended a friend's wedding where I knew I would see my ex, whom I dated for 7 years and hadn't seen in 7 years either. I was nervous, not because I thought things would go bad, but just because it's been a long time and it's just awkward and you make all of these scenarios up in your head, not knowing how it will go. This girl, my ex, was once my best friend, even prior to dating, and our breakup sort of divided our whole friend group. I have always wanted nothing more than to all be in the same room again, just being friends. We had a similar situation early on when my wife and I started dating, when we went to a wedding and ran into her very recent ex. I think everything was just too fresh and I did not handle it very well, or really any of us. I've regretted the way I reacted ever since and always wish I could do it over, especially knowing how I feel about seeing my ex. My wife knows this, as we've had many talks about it, and of course she understands. Anyway, I noticed my ex alone at a table and figured it was my opportunity and dragged my wife along for the ride. We made eye contact and smiled and immediately hugged. I introduced her to my wife and they began talking for a bit. We picked up right where we left off, talking about everything we've been up to, catching up on where we were living, and making fun of the groom who was a mutual best friend of ours. The night continued and we caught each other in passing a few times. All the stress and anxiety went away. It felt like how I wanted it to feel. Like we were still friends and hanging out like we once did with the groom many years ago. We even all took a photo together. My wife, being the awesome person she is, shamelessly shared it on social media. My friends couldn't believe we were all hanging out. My wife never said anything bad about my ex, nor did she make any jokes about how well it went compared to when we saw her ex, which she had every right to. On the way home, I just couldn't stop staring at my wife. I had this overwhelming feeling of love just pouring over me. I just kept getting the, "What are you looking at?" question lol. I truly felt closer to her and honestly looked up to her. I want to be like her. And she's everything I have ever wanted. I hope that I get a second chance and could do the same for her. I write this several days later, feelings just as strong, flowers and chocolate in hand, while I wait for her to get home. Love you babe. Edit. Wow, the typical, I didn't expect this to blow up. Thanks everyone. To clarify, I am not looking for a continuous relationship with X, nor am I stuck in the past. It's nice to move on and things to feel normal. It's more that I have fed up in the exact same situation previously. Wife did not use that as an opportunity to do the same. She handled it better than most would. Stories number 11. Aita for telling my husband his mom can't live with us for months-long stretches. My husband and I have been married for almost 2 years and our son is 10 months old. We live in Canada. I grew up here while my husband immigrated when he was a student. My parents live nearby, which has been invaluable during my pregnancy and since. My mom comes over regularly to help us out. My husband and her are on good terms too, so it's been going well. His parents live in another country. We have visited them once since we got married, that was 7 months ago. The time prior to that was our wedding itself, which took place there. My husband had been talking about my MIL visiting soon for a long visit, which I was happy with. We recently moved into our new house. I've done a good job decorating it. We have a large guest room, and I was looking forward to hosting her, especially since it would make my husband happy. A couple of days ago he was complaining about how detailed her visa application was. I told him I was surprised it was so thorough. He told me that it's because while regular visa forms allow a stay of 6 months max, this one allows 2 years. I asked why would she need a stay of more than 6 months. He said that she had been thinking of winding up her medical practice and basically retiring, and this would then allow her to stay for a longer visit if we all decide that it works. I was stunned. I told him he should just do the regular app because his mom won't be staying for anywhere close to 6 months. I had it in my mind that she'd be staying for like a month. That's how long we stayed for when we went there. He said that's his mom. She tells him how alone she feels. She can't go to my BLs because he lives with roommates, and we can't just put a timer on her visit here. He said she's been looking forward to helping us out with our son. I told him we don't need help, we manage fine on our own and with my mom's help. I wanted to host his mom as a guest, not as a part of our household. He complained that how was it fair that my parents could visit whenever they wanted while his can't. I was hurt by that because my parents have helped us out a lot, and I asked him if he wants us to limit how often my mom comes to visit. He said no, that's not what he meant, that he likes her but it wasn't fair to his parents. My reply was that when my mom comes, she goes at the end of the day. That wouldn't be the case with his. I ended it by saying he should look into the easier regular form because she can't be thinking of staying for that long. He chose to sleep on the couch that night and has been cold with me since. I hate that. We've never been cold to each other like this. I talked to my mom too. She said that having his mom live with us for long stretches would definitely affect me. That this is worth fighting for. I haven't seen him working on the application since. Last night he went out when his mom called. When he came back I asked him how she took it. He told me he had told her he's looking into what application best suits her. He asked me if I'd changed my mind. I said no. He just shook his head and started watching TV. Aita. Relevant comments. Editor's note, OOP also posted on the other sub with the same post. I am adding comments from that post for more context. Commenter 1, NTA. Was he planning to move his mother in your home for 2 years, going on forever without even having a conversation about it? Reply, he said that he was doing the 2-year application just so we have options once she's here, and said it'll be a collective decision. I told him there's no need, I have my decision already. I will not be okay with anything more than a couple of months, even that's pushing it in my mind, let alone more than 6 months. That's actually where I thought I may have been the he was talking about options and I kind of just shut him down. Commenter 2, NTA. It sounds like they planned on her fully just moving in with you. It's likely that after she was there and established, that she simply would not leave. This is definitely a hill to die on. You will end up with her living with you indefinitely if you don't put a time limit on it. 1 month is quite reasonable. Tell your husband that if she would like to live closer to you guys, you can help her find affordable housing, and then she could be equally as involved as your parents are. It would mess up your family dynamics as well as your marriage, and I doubt that your parenting styles will be the same. Her moving in for more than a month will be the death of your marriage. Reply, a lot of comments have said that we can help her get an apartment. I don't think that's a good idea. There's going to be a language barrier, she won't be able to drive, there's a lot of reasons that won't work. I am very sure that if we go down that route she will end up being a guest in our house very soon after. Commenter 3, consider offering to work with the month-long stay as a test to see how you blend. Tell your husband it's 1 month for the first visit, period. You'll both want to see how it feels for that first visit to have her there, then how it feels once she's gone again. Was the visit pleasant for all of you? Did you both enjoy her company and help? How overbearing was she? Did she constantly voice her opinions? Interfere in arguments? Play you against each other? Did she expect to be waited on? How was your sex life with her in the house? Did she take over the baby? Etc., etc. When she leaves, do you both breathe a sigh of relief? Do you find yourselves dreading her return or looking forward to it? Having another adult in the house, especially in such a young marriage, is a great way to ruin your physical and emotional intimacy. You can't shove mom in her bedroom so that you two can just be a couple when baby goes to sleep at night. No wandering around half naked. No spontaneous intimacy, someone else judging your cooking, cleaning, attire, parenting, anything else you can think of. It will not be the experience he expects it to be. As for hubby saying it's not fair, that's apples to oranges. Your parents are local, his are not. There's no expectation of equal time, and there never should have been. Assuming his parents are still married, her loneliness is an issue to be addressed between her and her husband. Hubby is not responsible for her happiness. She has friends and family where she is, but must have your husband at hand. Serious red flag. She will destroy your marriage if she's living with you by inserting herself into every aspect of your relationship and guilting hubby into compliance. This is a hill to die on. Hold your ground. Normal visits, yes, anything else, no. At least not straight from the get-go. Reply, a lot of what you said has been on my mind too. Like the big picture changes are daunting in themselves, but the small changes, like having to be more discreet with our intimacy, also seem suffocating. Regarding your idea of suggesting 1 month, I honestly already know I won't be able to deal with more than that. Would putting it out there just to say no again later be an move? Commenter 4, NTA, I read long stay and I thought 2 weeks, not 1 month. He complained that how was it fair that my parents could visit whenever they wanted while his can't. This is where the problem is. He thinks your parents living in the same area is the same as his mother living in your house. These are not equivalent situations. You should ask him how he would feel if your parents moved into the spare room for 2 months. If she is already feeling lonely, how is she going to feel after retiring and spending up to 6 months in another country? What is her plan for when she returns? It almost sounds like he wants her to permanently move in with you. Have you discussed that in the past? Is that an expectation in their culture? Reply, no, we have never discussed her or his dad moving in. Honestly, some of my extended family in Pakistan do have this arrangement where families live together, but this was never something that was on the cards for us because his parents are well established there. Commenter 5, I'm curious OP, you say, his parents, but only talk about his mom and you say she's lonely. Is his dad still alive? Are they still together? If she stays for a year, will dad eventually come too? Reply, yeah, my FIL is alive, and yes, they're together. I don't think he has plans for coming for a long stay like her, maybe shorter ones. Update 1. Thank you for the feedback in the original post. Yesterday when he came back from work I tried to start the conversation again. He had been giving me the cold shoulder since all this started. I told him I'm his wife of 2 years and the mother of his child, this isn't how we're going to communicate. We started talking after that. I held my ground that his mom staying with us for so long wasn't tenable. If she wanted to visit Canada for longer than a couple of months, she would have to live in her own apartment, learn how to drive, or use public transport. She's used to being driven by a hired driver in Pakistan, and a whole bunch of other changes that she'd need to get used to. That I don't see myself changing my mind on this, so he needs to be honest with her and himself and not go down the "we'll keep our options open" route. He said that he knows her living with us for an extended stay would require some changes on our part, but he was asking me to do this as a favor to him, that I claim to love him, and yet can't do him this favor for his mom. I actually started sobbing when he said this, it was so hurtful that he was using this as a litmus test for our love. I said her being around for years would ruin our parenthood with our first child, that I want us to raise our child the way we see fit, not his mom. Also, all the intimate moments we have, our sex life, everything would suffer. My parents are Pakistani too, I know this will happen. He again asked me to just not shut the door completely, that he'll tell his mom the stay can only be for a month or so, and I can let him know if I think the change wasn't too much. And we landed on a compromise that for now they'll do the regular visa app that only allows a max stay of 6 months. If I changed my mind, he'll do the super visa. He then had a long call with his mom, which his older sister also joined. It actually lasted an hour and a half. He was in the backyard for the call and came back in to grab a chair. It was that long. Also, from what I could see, he was mostly listening for that convo. When he came back in, he told me to just not answer any calls or messages from his mom or sister. Meanwhile, I've received like 4 missed calls and 20 messages from them, mostly Islamic quotes about the rights of parents. I've told them that I can't talk right now since I'm busy with my son right now. I do feel guilty because, like I said, I was actually looking forward to host her for a month, and I think this whole thing may have caused irreparable damage not just to my relationship with my MIL and SIL, but my husband's relationship with his mom and sister. I've told my MIL I'll call her back in a couple of hours, once my husband's back. I'm dreading that conversation, but I know what my boundaries are. Thank you for the feedback, it helped. Edit. Also, one thing that I had to clarify a few times last post. A lot of people were like, this is what happens when you marry outside your culture. My husband and I are both of Pakistani descent. Just that I was born here, while he immigrated here as a student. But he's been here for like a decade now too. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, she is not your son's parent and has 0 rights to him. Reply, I think those Islamic quotes were about their rights as parents to my husband's, and by extension mine, hospitality and care. Which I mean, I get it, but I don't know if this is how those principles were supposed to be applied. Definitely not going to get into a religious debate with her. Commenter 2, good for you OP. Do not go on that call with your MIL by yourself. Your husband must be on that call and he better not cave to what she wants. Reply, oh. I was just going to stick with the 1-month-ish plan in the call. Why do you think I shouldn't talk to her alone? Just asking because I was considering getting this all done with before he comes home. Commenter 2, I agree to stick with the 1-month plan, but it doesn't sound like she's happy with you. I think it's best to have your husband on the call so A, he knows everything she says to you, B, so it doesn't seem like you're the bad guy refusing to let her stay indefinitely, and that your husband is also on board with it, and C, so he can do the work of holding the line with his mother and show that he is able to stick up for you. Maybe it'll be fine, but I can just picture MIL saying nasty things to you and then telling your husband she didn't say them and that you're overreacting. It's his side of the family and it should be his job to mediate. Reply, yeah, I think I'm going to wait and do this with him. Thank you for the advice. I'm not sure how these updates work. I had edited it over there too, but someone had PM'd me saying an update needs to be a separate post rather than edit. This is just for those people who had given me a lot of great advice on holding the line and had asked for an update to my phone call with my MIL. I spoke to my MIL. Since her missed calls and text messages were asking me to call her, I figured I should be the one to call, not my husband. But I put my phone on speaker, so that my husband who was lying on the couch could also hear it. She said that my husband had told her he thought it'd be best if she restricts her trip to 1 month, since it was her first time in Canada, and because we were really busy with my son. She said that ever since my husband had gone to Canada as an 18-year-old, he'd always wanted her to visit for a long duration, and now all of a sudden he was asking her to restrict it when she wanted to help with her grandson, and said she knew I must be the reason why. I said it was a joint decision because of the circumstances, but she wouldn't hear of it. She said if her visiting for more than a month was so outrageous to us, then that's fine, she'll limit her stay, but I should know that in Pakistan in-laws live in the same house with the married couple, like my SIL does. And that she had thought I was in touch with my Islamic and Pakistani roots when I was getting married because that's what my husband had told her, but she was disappointed at how whitewashed I was. At this point my husband asked me to give him the phone, but not before I told her that I was totally comfortable with how in tune with my heritage I was, and that apparently so was her son. Told her my husband had just come and handed him the phone. My husband went in the yard to talk, but I was so angry I decided to eavesdrop. He was talking to both my MIL and FIL. He told them that he hadn't fled to Canada in the middle of the night as a student, they both had seen him off at the airport, and that when he had introduced me, hadn't kept the fact that I was born and raised in Canada a secret either. That they can't expect to treat us like a couple in Pakistan. Then he listened a whole lot for like half an hour. I gave him a chair again, and kept telling them that it's different now. They ended the call with him saying that we were both really looking forward to her visit, that we'll make sure it's a great 30 or so days, with us and her grandson. He apologized to me on behalf of his mom, and asked me to please let her lecture go and still be on board with the 1-month plan. I'm looking forward to it much less than I was, but I said fine. Thanks a lot again for the advice. Along with my mother, I was able to get good advice from here too, and I think I've managed to resolve this issue. I know myself, I know my MIL staying over for years wasn't something I could deal with, and knowing a lot of people agreed was really helpful. Relevant comments. Reply, I honestly don't know. She said she'll visit for a month but was really upset about the fact that she had to. I'm just going to assume everyone keeps to their word for now. It's Ramadan, and Eid soon as well, our first Eid with our son, to look forward to. I don't want to think about what happens if she decides to stay longer. OOP should have her mom over and help deal with MIL if she tries to pull something from OOP. Reply, my parents will be hosting her for dinner and all, of course. After hearing about everything that happened, my mom thinks she should come around too. I'm just conflicted if seeing my mom coming around so easily would reinforce my MIL's sense of injustice. My mom left that decision to me. She told me she'll be 5 minutes away whenever I need her. Commenter 1, you and your husband will still need to set boundaries. You know she blames you for the fact that she's not getting what she wants. She is already blaming you for the fact that her son is not giving in to her demands. If she's going to stay with you in your home, she needs to respect the fact that it is not just her son's home. It's your home too. It's not just your husband's son. It's your son, too. She does not get to control or judge your connection to your heritage. If she wants to be welcome in your home, she needs to treat you with respect, and she needs to avoid interfering with your marriage. Your husband needs to be fully prepared to rein her in if she puts even one toe out of line. He needs to be responsible for protecting you from any disrespect from her. Good luck, and I hope you'll be able to come back and let us know it went well. Commenter 2, I want to add to this, and I know it sounds paranoid as hell, but after all the just no-mill stories, I strongly suggest cameras in the areas that baby will be in, so it's not looked at a weird or invasive. The only reason is the passive-aggressive actions and controlling behavior. She may try to break up the marriage by saying you did something when hubby walked out of the room or something of that ilk. Keep a record of things, only if you have the energy to keep track of things. To me, this isn't just culture. This is a woman who expects full control and may try to take it however she can. Take it or leave it, but that's my suggestion. Reply, I honestly think I'm going to do this. As icky as it feels to think she would want to deliberately do something like that, her comment about me being untrue to my heritage is still ringing in my ears. Thank you for the suggestion. I thought about this more overnight. About what my boundaries' consequences are. First of all, I'm going to let my husband know it's not going to be a month or so. A lot of comments said that leaves it open-ended. It's just going to be a month. My parents' place is 5 minutes away. I'm going to need her to be out by 11:59 p.m. on day 31 or my son and I will be at my parents' by 12:05. She keeps saying she wants to help with my son, but I'm not going to let that take away at all from my bonding time with him. If I at all feel uncomfortable or suffocated during her visit, I'll go with my son to my parents' house until I feel I can come back. Also, the rules regarding intimacy won't be the way they were when we visited Pakistan. In Pakistan it would have been scandalous for my husband and I to give each other a kiss or cuddle in front of a TV if my in-laws were there. But I'm not going to have those rules imposed on us while she's at our house. I don't know if these boundaries seem petty, but after her remarks yesterday I've soured on her quite a bit. Stories number 12. My youngest son advice on happy relationships and my oldest son's girlfriend to dumped him. I've had a few requests for an update, but life and its troubles kept happening each new day since my original post. I made some comments on the original post but there were just too many to answer everyone and deal with the PMs people sent me. I'll try to answer the many and varied questions in this update. I'd like to clarify that my oldest son is a young adult, and no longer lives in my home. He came over long enough to drop off my youngest son's gift, eat some cake, and left with his girlfriend. My daughter and youngest son are still teenagers. My daughter and my oldest son's girlfriend met through my son, but they are still friends even after the breakup. With that said, on with the update. After my oldest son and his girlfriend broke up, and he yelled at me for it, many things have been said, some things I didn't know were revealed, and some secrets were told. I gave my son a couple days to cool off before I spoke with him. My wife tried calling a few times, but he wouldn't answer his phone, so I went over to his apartment. His roommate convinced him to let me in to talk. And we did. We also did some shouting, a bit of yelling, and hugged once as well. She wanted him to stay here, where her family is, and he wanted her to go with him if he took the apprenticeship. It's almost twice the hourly rate he makes at his current job, and the apprenticeship will pay for some of his time spent in classes, although the cost of living is higher there as well. Some people pointed out that my son is a bit misogynistic, and I initially thought that may be a bit true, and I learned part of that is from some of the examples he has seen in my home. I talked to him about this and discovered that he sees things about my marriage in a way they were never meant to be seen. One thing that my son pointed out to me was this thing my wife and I call my magic coffee cup. You see, when my wife is home, I am not allowed to make my own coffee. My wife has always made my coffee since we first started dating. This isn't something I have ever demanded, it's just the way things have always been. It became a joke between my wife and I when we were dating that my coffee cup must be magic because I've never had to fill it myself. Now, after many years of marriage, it's become something I don't even think about. My wife will pick my empty cup up and say some silly magic words like hocus pocus, or bibbidi bobbidi boo while waving her hands over it, and then she takes it to the kitchen and makes me a fresh cup. Sometimes I will pick up my empty cup and say some magic words and then shake the cup or peek inside and then in a pitiful whiny voice say to my wife, "Honey, my magic cup isn't working again." The few times I have tried to make my own coffee when she is home, she gets up, hip checks me out of the way, and makes it for me. I learned my lesson long ago, but my kids never saw that play out when it first developed. This is not the misogynistic act my oldest son believes it to be. I do not think it is my wife's place to have to slave for me by making my coffee. She does it because she loves doing it, not because she has to. If she told me today that I had to make my coffee from now on, I won't say a peep. I'll kiss my wife and go make my coffee. This has become part of another running joke that we have going. The joke is we each don't let the other do specific things around the house so that the other forgets how to do them so we can never leave each other. Officially, I do all the laundry, and she does all the dishes. In reality she does wash the occasional load and I do the dishes every once in a while, but we never admit to doing so. I learned to cook her favorite foods so she forgot how to make them, and she does the same for mine. For example, she can't make eggs over easy anymore, and I've forgotten how to make a good slop, which is sausage and egg noodles in cream of mushroom and topped with fried onions, terrible for you but so good. This, and other little quirks, is part of our love language, and it has taken many years for it to develop. My son mistook the nuanced unspoken, or joked about, parts of our marriage for some sort of male-female traditional marriage role BS. He was seeing the end result of years of small compromises, fights, agreements, and other stuff that lead to the way our marriage works today. Now, while I was having that talk with my oldest boy, my wife and daughter were talking with his ex-girlfriend. We all really like her, and would hate to see them broken up forever. They discovered all the things my son wasn't telling me. From what they learned, my oldest son has been listening to certain podcasters and TikTok influencers that are very misogynistic. My son wanting her to move out of state with him, while she was reluctant to do so, is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to their real problems. When they talked about their futures they had wildly differing views on what those futures would be like. For example, he got it stuck in his head that women should do the lion's share of the housework. To be fair, doing the dishes seems like it takes a lot more effort than doing laundry, since most of the time is spent waiting for a dryer cycle to finish. But doing the laundry is more than just washing and folding clothes while watching TV or playing video games. It's changing the linens, changing out the towels and robes in the bathrooms, and changing out and cleaning the curtains around the home. None of my kids has ever had to put fresh sheets on their beds, because I do it for them. My wife has done our bed maybe once in the last half dozen years. Laundry, like dishes, are monsters that you battle endlessly. In a good marriage you and your partner fights those battles side by side, no matter how you spilt up the workload exactly. Anyway, I hate to see them remain broken up, but my son needs to grow up a bit before that has any hope of happening. I suggested therapy, though I doubt my son will look into it. He's at the age where he thinks he knows everything. He hasn't attained the wisdom to realize that no matter how perfect we think we are, everyone screws up, and sometimes the way we think is very very wrong. Patrick, I love you, but you need to get your head out of your ass. TLDR, my oldest boy and his girlfriend look to be going their separate ways for now. Stories number 13. Wife wants to name our twins Romeo and Juliet. My wife is a huge Shakespeare fan, and she loves the idea of naming the twins Romeo and Juliet. I'm against it. I can't get over the idea of naming our kids after a fictional couple who die. I do really like the name Juliet. I even suggested that if we go with Juliet, maybe we could name our son Tybalt after Juliet's cousin. She insists that if we use Juliet, we have to use Romeo. I'll admit Romeo and Juliet is one of the only Shakespeare plays I've read, but I've tried to look online for some other Shakespearean sibling names we could use, like Ophelia and Laertes from Hamlet or Claudio and Isabella from Much Ado About Nothing. She hasn't liked any of them because either their source isn't serious enough or the names aren't recognizable famous as Shakespearean. She's really stuck on this. On their own, I think they're lovely, but I don't think they work for twins. Is there a way I can convince her this is a bad idea, Or does anyone have other Shakespearean name suggestions that might win her over? I'm not sure if I'm overthinking the meaning behind the names and being weird about it, but I can't talk with anyone about this because she wants the twins' names to be a surprise. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, weren't Viola and Sebastian twins in Much Ado About Nothing? I think those are both lovely names on their own, and I'm not sure many people would immediately think of Shakespeare the way they would with Romeo and Juliet. And they're actually siblings, not love interests. Edit, it was Twelfth Night, sorry. Not Much Ado About Nothing. Reply, I didn't know about this play, I'll check it out, but I love those two names and the fact that they are twins might sway my wife. Thank you. Commenter 2, are there any similar names she'd be open to, like Rowan or Roland instead of Romeo? Naming your kids after famous lovers definitely seems creepy to me. Reply, she doesn't like any changes modern versions, they have to be from a Shakespeare work. That's why I've been trying to find names from established siblings. Commenter 4, the specifics of Romeo and Juliet aside, neither you nor your wife should get to be stuck on these or any other names. If you vetoed them, they're out. It is also true that naming siblings after a couple nearly synonymous with young love is ill-advised, but even if it were not, neither parent should get to bully or steamroller the other into a naming choice. Frame this differently with her, you are allowed to veto names just as she is allowed to veto your choices. Do not get mired in the literary merits or demerits of various Shakespearean oeuvre or characters, because it is beside the point. This is the first of many parenting disagreements you will have in the future, in which you will need to compromise to find a solution. Now is the time to practice that skill and learn how to listen to one another's hard limits. Reply, we did that before she got hung up on these two names. At first, we considered names from the books we both liked, but Romeo and Juliet was the first Shakespeare play she saw, and once she got this idea, she didn't want to hear any more. I'm hoping I can talk her out of it, but if I can't I might show her this thread. Thank you. Update. Thanks for all the comments and name suggestions. I didn't want to speak badly about my wife, but yes, I'm well aware of how deranged it is to name a pair of siblings after a fictional couple, and I was too much of a coward to bring up the incest thing in my original post. In defense of my wife, her pregnancy has been very hard on her. It's her first, and naming the kids is the only thing she's seemed happy about these days. For context, she's seen the Romeo and Juliet play in person and is an avid reader of plays in general, but she's always liked Shakespeare most because they were the ones she studied. A few years ago, she even ran a Shakespeare club for kids at the local library. More recently, she was rereading the play and suggested we name the kids after the main characters. I was taken aback and told her we'd sleep on it, but the following day, it was all she'd talk about, and she was so happy I didn't have the heart to talk her out of it. She became more and more fixated on it as the weeks went on. After making this post, I asked her again why it had to be these two names. She told me she always liked symbolic meanings and grand declarations of love, and she wanted that sort of bond to carry over to the kids in a family sense. She also mentioned that out of all the plays she'd read, Romeo and Juliet was the most iconic, that people would be able to recognize them and that it would make it easier to talk to other parents if they asked why the kids were named Romeo and Juliet. I sat on this for a few days. And honestly, it felt like I didn't know her. I pray this is her pregnancy brain talking, but this isn't her. She's always been a romantic and fixates on trends ideas, but this is just weird. Yesterday, I finally told her point blank that we were not naming our kids after such a famous couple under any circumstances, and I showed her this thread. She refused to look at it and broke down. My wife asked me why I couldn't just let her have this. Some suggested she needed to hear how crazy she was from someone who wasn't me, so I told her best friend what was happening, and she was more horrified than I was, how I probably should have reacted. Her best friend came over after work, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I know they watched the 1968 movie version of Romeo and Juliet together, which I've been told has a sex scene. I think that snapped some sense into my wife. Her friend left a few hours ago, and my wife's been quiet, but she asked if we could look over the names I picked out again. Thanks again for all the comments. I think we both needed reality slapped into us, her from her delusion and me from my apparent lack of common sense. She's still dead set on something Shakespeare theater related and somewhat matching, but now that her head is clearer, I hope we can pick something better. From the quick read of the comments I showed her, she did like the name Sebastian, but she's on the fence about Viola. I'll let her off the hook for now since she's so sick, but once we're back to normal life, I'm not letting her forget this happened. I'll update this again once we finally have names picked out. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, the way you're talking about your parted in this paired with you saying you're not gonna let her forget this is raising some questions for me. You realize that you fumbled the bag here too, right? Like not just because you didn't say anything initially, but you let her get excited about the names for weeks. You let her think you were okay with the names and build hope, and you build up your frustrations until you finally spoke up, but sounds like you were harsh about it for what? She didn't see the problems the names would cause, and when it was brought to her attention by her friend she did the right thing and changed her mind. She did the right thing, and you still sound like you have anger towards her when it's nobody's fault but yours that you didn't voice your concerns for weeks and instead pushed her friend to do it for you. Reply: I'm not sure I worded it well. But she's been very sick during this whole thing, not able to eat regularly, not sleeping, horrible cramps, etc. Naming the kids was the only thing she seemed really excited about, because the actual pregnancy hasn't been good for her. We agreed that she would get the ultimate say in the names because she's carrying the kids. I didn't want to burst her bubble when she first got this idea, but as the weeks went on, I realized how serious it was. I'm not mad at her for the choice, I'm mad more at myself for not doing anything about it, and at both of us for not realizing what it could do to our kids' future. But I shouldn't have waited so long to speak with her. The last comment was that if we ever have kids again, I hope she won't want to name them after a couple again, not meant maliciously, but I see I didn't say that well either. Commenter 2, is it possible your wife might be struggling with some sort of hormone-related mood issues? Some women experience prenatal issues such as prenatal depression, prenatal anxiety, and/or prenatal psychosis. I'm not saying it sounds like she has any of those conditions right now, but it's just good to have an awareness of such in case she seems to be more worried in general, fixated on things, energy levels are consistently low, etc. Reply: she's been like this as long I've known her, jumping from fandom to fandom, getting immersed in something for a month and then not touching it for a year. This time has been hard on her, which is why I'm trying not to do anything that would make her uncomfortable, but if she ever needs anything, I'll be here for her. The main concern is the physical symptoms right now, but I'll keep an eye out for anything else. Thank you for this information. Commenter 3, I'm glad this has been resolved, but please don't start your life as parents by not letting her off the hook. If she decides that it's a funny story and feels comfortable retelling it, that's cool, but otherwise I wouldn't tease her about this. Plenty of parents have chosen far worse names, combinations of names, and she was reasonable once she really understood the objection better, after you hadn't been direct with her for weeks. Reply: I meant it more as a, I won't let her name any more babies we have after couples, but I didn't say it right. But I'm as much to blame for this happening. I agree, I let it get out of hand. I'm not going to hold this over her head, and as you said it could be a funny story if she wants to tell it. Thank you, I'll show her this. Stories number 14, my brother won the lottery. But I swapped our tickets. I think about this way too much. It's been years, but every time I see a lottery ad or hear someone talk about a big win, I feel sick. My brother isn't the type to play the lottery. He's always been the responsible one, good job, steady life, never takes dumb risks. But one random day, we were walking through a shopping center, and as we passed a newsagent, he decided to grab a lucky pick ticket. Just a total impulse buy. I laughed at him, saying he was wasting his money, but for some reason, I grabbed one too, just for shits and giggles. A few days later, I was at his place and saw his ticket just sitting there on the kitchen bench, half buried under some unopened mail. I knew the draw had already happened, so out of pure curiosity, I checked the numbers. And my stomach dropped. It wasn't the jackpot, but it was a lot. Low six figures. The kind of money that could wipe out debt, buy a new car, or cut my mortgage in half. I don't even remember making the decision. My own ticket, a total dud, was still in my wallet. Before I knew it, I swapped them and left shortly after. A week later, we were having a beer, and he casually mentioned that he'd forgotten to check his ticket. I shrugged and said, yeah, you probably didn't win anyway. He laughed, agreed, and said he'd probably thrown it out already. I wanted to throw up. Cashing it was easy. The whole sum went into my mortgage and helped me pay it off at least a decade earlier. No one knew. He's doing pretty well for himself, good job, nice place, no real financial worries. That helps ease the guilt a little. Makes it easier to convince myself it wouldn't have changed much for him anyway. This afternoon, at a charity raffle we entered for a good cause but didn't win anything, he casually complained about how he never wins anything, and I immediately felt a tight knot in my chest. I laughed along, acted like it was nothing, but in the back of my mind, I wondered how different things could have been if I hadn't swapped our tickets. Edit. A lot of people are questioning how I was able to claim the prize if I wasn't the one who bought the ticket. In my country, if you buy a physical lottery ticket from an outlet with cash, there's no way to trace it back to the original buyer. The ticket itself is basically like cash. Whoever has it can claim the prize. I believe it's only registered to a buyer if the ticket was purchased online. Stories number 15. Aita for walking out of a family dinner after my parents insulted my Thai wife. My wife, Fa, 32F, is from Thailand. We met while she was studying in the US, fell in love, and got married 5 years ago. She's an amazing woman, kind, hardworking, and incredibly smart. Unfortunately, my parents have never fully accepted her. From the beginning, they made offhand comments about her being a gold digger and only marrying me for a green card. No matter how many times I told them otherwise, they held on to this ignorant assumption. It doesn't matter that Fa has a successful career, makes her own money, she makes more than me by the way, and has never asked me for a dime, because in their eyes, she's one of those foreign women who trap American men. Last weekend, we had dinner at my parents' house. At first, things were civil. But then my dad smirked and said, "So, Fa, now that you've been married 5 years, do you finally get to keep your green card?" My mom laughed and added, "Guess you don't have to be on your best behavior anymore, huh?" Fa went pale. I was furious. I told them to cut it out, but my dad doubled down and said that they're just joking. But that we can't blame them for wondering how much of this marriage was for love and how much was for the visa. My mom nodded and said they just want to make sure I weren't taken advantage of. That was it. I stood up, told them we weren't staying for dinner, and walked out with Fa. In the car, she was quiet, then finally asked me if they really think that way of her, which just broke my heart. Now my parents are saying I embarrassed them in front of the other family and overreacted. My brother says I should have just kept the peace and talked to them later. They're refusing to apologize, claiming it was just a joke. I don't regret standing up for my wife, but now I'm wondering if maybe I should have just waited until everyone else is gone to call them out on it. ETA, I am 33 years old, didn't think to add it but wanted to clarify as some may think theirs is some huge age gap between us. Stories number 16. I discovered I could smell cancer as a child. Anyone else out there have this quirk? My relative is still alive and kicking, so no sad stuff. However, when I was young I would spend nearly every week with her. She was just very sweet and doted on me a lot, which was a stark contrast to my tumultuous home life, so I loved staying with her. When I was around 8 I went to her house after going on vacation and she smelled so bad. As a child, just being a child, I was honest. She seemed hurt, and took a shower but the smell didn't leave. I hate to admit but I was so upset as a kid about the smell that I didn't want her to cook for me. The smell was just too much and I have germ-phobic tendencies. In my child mind the smell would get near my food and I had a meltdown over it. Which was probably really shitty to be on the receiving end of in retrospect. A few weeks later I was back and the smell was still there. I was relentless. "It smells like that possum in the road I saw one time." At that point she began to get worried and decided to go to the doctor. Thank God she did. Turns out she had melanoma. She had a procedure to remove the patches and made a full recovery, and after that, out of curiosity, she asked me if the smell was still there, so I hugged her tight to get a good whiff and it was completely gone. A few years later, around 13 years old, I went to visit her, and the smell was back. I told her, "Remember when you stunk?" And she said, "Oh no. Do I need to go to the DR again?" This time she found out she was in very early stages of breast cancer and we caught it so early that she had a mastectomy. Again making a full recovery. Third time, was melanoma again. But every time she's had cancer I've caught it by scent. I'm curious if anyone else has ever smelled it. I've always had a very sensitive nose. I'm also curious if I only caught it because I know her smell well enough to notice if it changes, like I could maybe only do it if I know the person's usual scent. For those who maybe be wondering, it smells like that sickly sweet, rotting dead animal on a hot day. If you've ever had the displeasure of smelling such a thing, either way. Pretty trippy. I have always been curious about it. No one else in my family smelled what I was smelling. Stories number 17. Aita for letting my SIL interview me about being a birth mother knowing my answers wouldn't be exactly what she was looking for. I, 34F, gave birth to a baby boy when I was 20 and I put him up for adoption. I don't know anything about him and never had any contact with his family or him. This isn't something I keep secret, but I also don't go into the details frequently either. My husband's younger sister, 22F, became a young mom at 17. She and her boyfriend considered giving their baby up for adoption but decided to keep their child and raise her. This made SAL passionate about adoption and adoptee rights and birth mother rights. She fell somewhat down the anti-adoption online rabbit hole. Not to say there aren't negatives to the industry, there are. But she's got a lot of wrong ideas. She's also a college student and focuses a lot on adoption for her assignments. She wants to be a social worker who helps people keep their kids so adoption becomes a thing of the past. I'm the only birth mother she knows well enough to ask for an interview, and when she asked I said yes. Her questions focus around a few areas from why I gave my own baby up for adoption to what could have changed it and did I have any regrets. She also mentioned some studies about skin to skin and if I could go back would I have held the baby and given him skin to skin with me. I'll sum up what I told her answered with, I have zero regrets about giving the baby up for adoption and if I had to remake the choice, I would. This was the only good decision for him. For that reason even though skin to skin has benefits I would not have held him knowing about those. Had I held him at all I would have kept him and his life would not have been good. I was not selfless enough to put him first. He would have been abused by my ex-partner and I would have stayed. He would have been living among drugs, sex and all sorts of things with random people coming in and out and I would have stayed. Keeping him would not have changed that. All it would do is give him more trauma. The person I was back then was not going to change for a baby. I could have been given a free house, free childcare, a job and all kinds of supports and I still would have gone back and exposed him. Therapy wouldn't have helped either because I never would have taken advantage of it really. I told her I went from one abusive household, my parents, to another, my ex, and that I was enjoy being rebellious and pissing my parents off. That my ex was everything they hated and they were everything I hated so I clung to my ex. And because the baby wasn't his he was never going to accept him. I told her looking back at me then and knowing how innocent that precious little boy was I would have been a monster for keeping him. I told her even back then I knew I wasn't going to sacrifice like that for him. I told her loving and wanting him wasn't enough. Because I wouldn't have given him a good life. Sil argued with me on the point of resources. She said I have no way of knowing if I would have made a better life for us if they was offered. I told her I do know. I told her I know that 20-year-old me better than anyone ever will. And the only life I would have given him would be one full of abuse and neglect. That he never would have been my number one priority. She argued adoption might not have given that to him either but I told her it gave him more of a chance than staying with me did. She really didn't like my answers and told me everything I said went against the point of her paper. I told her I couldn't lie and she asked me why I accepted then. She said I made it seem like adoption is the only option. I told her because there are times when it is the only option. She's mad about it and my husband told her she came to me and was wrong to be mad at me for answering the questions honestly. She said I made her work harder, Aita. And I'm asking because I knew my answers wouldn't be the kind she wants to write about but I agreed to do this anyway in part to try and open up her mind. Stories number 18. My mom and stepdad kept the basement locked my entire childhood. We lived in a modest house. Me, my mom, my stepdad and my stepbrother. My brother was 4 years older than me and always in trouble. Around the age of 5 I remember being in our basement for a birthday party, but that was my last memory of that place until I was older. They kept it locked. No kids, no visitors, no friends or family allowed. People made comments that it was strange but that was it really. As a kid I remember trying pick the lock with a bobby pin like I was a spy or something. Never worked. Years went on and as a family we fell apart. My brother continued getting into worse and worse trouble. My stepdad became addicted to cocaine and subsequently crack. He would disappear for entire days. He once disappeared while driving in a funeral procession and didn't show up until the next day. He said he got lost on the way to the church. At 14, they left me home alone for a night to attend a concert. I noticed that they left their basement key hanging on the key rack unknowingly, so I seized the opportunity and took it. I rode my bike to the drugstore and made a copy, then rode home and replaced the original. The next time they left the house, I finally entered the basement for the first time as a teenager. The big thing they were trying to hide was a large marijuana grow operation. I knew they smoked pot, no hiding that, but had no idea the scale of it. It was probably 50+ plants. It was not a large house so walls were torn down to make space for more plants, grow tents were put up, the whole deal. This was in a state and a time where it wasn't legal even medically, so I guess they wanted to keep me out to protect me or stop me from telling my friends. I had never smoked pot myself at that time, but I knew people who did, so I offered to sell it to them. I mean, there was so much it was surreal. I started by taking small amounts and progressively took more and more when I realized it was going unnoticed. I got bold and would even sneak downstairs to steal it when my stepdad was working outside. It was a rush. I made a couple grand from selling it over the course of 4 years before my mom and stepdad split up and she lost the house. We moved, and that's when she told me that all of our family did the same thing. All my aunts and uncles had similar grow ops. I worked for my uncle for a year or so while in college and he had even more plants in his modest suburban house. I don't really know if it negatively affected me or not. I think if my stepdad hadn't gotten mixed up with harder drugs I could say the pot didn't really bother me at all. Obviously it turned out to be quite lucrative for me. Harder drugs like cocaine and crack ruined his life and subsequently ruined my stepbrother's life as well. When my mom got divorced from him we moved and I never saw or spoke to them again. The only person I've told is my therapist, so I guess I just wanted to yell into the void a little bit. I love my mom, and we have a great relationship now. Weed is legal here. She still grows 3 plants for personal use where she lives now. I rarely smoke, but every time I smell the stuff I get a flood of memories from childhood and I remember how strange it all was. Edit. Lots of great comments. I didn't expect anyone to read this really. Some people seem to think I was just ripping the plants from the dirt and selling it that way. They had over 50 plants from babies to adults and there was always buds or shake I could steal. I sold it to the same 5 to 6 kids I was friends with at school. No, this wasn't dispensary grade weed. But at the time my friends were happy to buy it at a 1/3 the cost they could get it somewhere else. I have no way of proving this actually happened. For those of you that have said I should have known or suspected it, you're probably right, but I was 14. All those years being locked out of there were spent wondering what the hell was down there. I did always smell weed, but I knew my parents smoked, so it wasn't a surprise. Stories number 19. Aita for telling my boyfriend's kids to eat what's for dinner or don't eat at all. I 27F have been with my boyfriend 30 for a little over a year now. We recently moved in together. I have a 8-year-old from an ex, and my boyfriend has 2 kids ages 6 and 9. Since we moved in together I now have his children every weekend and he works Fridays, so I am alone with them till he is off work. Friday night I made meatloaf with roasted broccoli and mashed potatoes. My son eats well, he knows to eat the best he can, and if he don't finish his food that's okay, but he at least has to eat the most he can unless he don't want a before bedtime snack. I hold my boyfriend children to these same rules which we haven't had any issues with till Friday night. Neither of the kids liked the food, the 9-year-old ate it, the 6-year-old refused, in which I said I'm not making you another meal, so he went to bed without dinner. When my boyfriend got home his 6-year-old was complaining he was hungry and my boyfriend got upset with me that I refused to make him something else. I told him I wouldn't hold his children to different rules than my child. He got upset and ended up making him something else to eat, then told me that was horrible of me to deny a child dinner and blamed it on his young age, explaining I had to be more lenient. I explained that I had raised a young child before and I was once a young child and followed those same rules, which just resulted in a huge argument, and him calling me ignorant. Today we got a call from my boyfriend's ex, and now the children don't want to come till Saturday, or Friday night late when my boyfriend is off work. This caused another big argument between my boyfriend and I. He once again called me an ignorant aholi, and said I needed to change my way of thinking. Aita. I did not force this kid to go to bed hungry, I suggested him to eat a larger portion of his mashed potatoes and smaller portion of other things which he refused, and he didn't want to make anything else himself. Stories number 20. Aita for telling my mom I won't attend a wedding if she wears a certain dress. Okay, so I will admit off the bat my phrasing could have been nicer and less dramatic, but I couldn't think of how to express how wrong I think she is. My mom, 60F, recently purchased a dress for my 24F cousins, her nephew's wedding. This is the first wedding in our family in about 25 years, so everyone is very excited. She wanted to show me the dress and specifically said she wanted my honest opinion on it, and was aware the style of the dress was not similar to my personal style. I agreed and told her I can always appreciate a good look, even if it's not something I would wear. Here is where the issue began. The dress is 80% white. As soon as she walked out I told her that it is a pretty dress and she looks good, but she can't wear it to a wedding. She went back and forth with me saying there is flowers on the front and that it's not white, it's cream. I told her no matter if it's cream, white, bone, or ivory, it is too white to wear to a wedding if that's the main color. Once again, she said it wasn't too white and she's going to wear it. I then reminded her of the one big rule for most weddings, don't wear white. She said, I've never heard of that and it's a summer wedding. I told her it's a very well-known rule, especially for people under 30. I also informed her that the bride would likely be very upset if she wore it. She seemed to think it wouldn't bother the bride and that it's not too white. I finally told her that I wouldn't go to the wedding at all if she wore it, as I would be too embarrassed knowing that my mother would do that to someone on their wedding day. Now, she is insisting on asking my sister for her opinion and thinks I was being a bitch. Aita. Stories number 21. I'm going to end my life on March 30th. That's it. That's the post. I'm a 33-year-old woman with a partner of 8 years who doesn't care about me. Doesn't care about my feelings, doesn't want to marry me or move past what we are doing today. Got a 6-year-old kid who ignores me and prefers their dad because he's the yes man. I have one friend, because the other friend I had was friends with my partner before I met him, and she always chooses his side. I am NC with my mother. My dad has his other daughters. Even at my close-knit workplace, I'm a replaceable body. I just feel like no one will really miss me. And I don't want to be here anymore. I don't think I've experienced actual joy or happiness in almost a decade. It's gotten worse, and even with meds and therapy, I don't feel any improvement. Even with all the meditations and self-care I never feel better. My body hurts inside, like a hard balloon that's always ready to burst. I am always crying. My life is fucked, man, and I'm over it. On March 30th I will be traveling to my favorite state to end my life. I've started all of my letters to anyone who might even kind of care. I really don't think I'll be missed. I know I won't miss this. Thank you for reading. This accomplishes nothing, but it feels good to put it out there. Cue My Love by Marty Robbins. Stories number 22. Aita for telling my sister she had no right to make promises on mom's behalf or mine and all hurt feelings are her fault. Please tell me if I'm a total to my sister or not. A few months ago my sister found out that our mom had given a baby up for adoption when she was a teenager. She told me and went to confront mom about never saying anything, but mom shut down. Our dad told us that mom had been abused by someone in her family for years, and the pregnancy was a result of that. She wanted a termination but her family prevented her from getting one. They wanted her to raise the baby but she didn't even want to touch her and refused all contact in the hospital and said she wanted the baby to be adopted out. Her family tried to stop it but mom threatened to reveal who the father was if they made her keep the baby. She was kicked out not long after and mom was only 14 when all this happened, so it was deeply traumatic for her and something she still doesn't like talking about. She only told dad once and they never talked about it again. That's why dad told us. My sister told her she was in touch with the person mom gave up for adoption. That this woman wanted to meet her and ask questions and wanted to meet us all. Mom said wouldn't meet this woman and would not answer questions. My sister didn't listen and she told this woman that mom had agreed to meet her. She actually went beyond that and lied and promised that we all wanted her to be a part of the family as a daughter-sister and that mom had loved and missed her and thought about her every single day. Then she brought her to the house during a family dinner. Mom fell apart when she realized and locked herself in her bedroom. Dad told my sister she had to leave and had to take her guest with her. Dad went to check on mom while I made sure my sister actually left. My sister wanted me to leave with them and go to lunch, and that's when I found out about her promise for a relationship with everyone. I told my sister I wasn't going and she left super pissed at me and at our parents. My mom isn't talking to my sister right now. My dad told my sister she had no right to pull the stunt she did and my sister keeps trying to pretend I'm on her side when I'm not. She keeps talking about how hurt the woman was that we didn't want to meet and know her and that she was treated like a criminal when she isn't to blame for how she was conceived. I told my sister she had no right to make promises on our behalf. And I said all hurt feelings are her fault for lying in the first place. My sister said it should be how we feel and I said it's not. I said the fact is it'll never be. I said she can have a relationship with her if she wants but she can't force mom into it after everything mom went through. Stories number 23. Aita for telling my trans friend his new name is creepy and weird. Okay, so hear me out. I had been friends with Dan, fake name, 22M, since high school. We grew up in the same neighborhood but didn't become friends until high school when he really accepted he wasn't feminine. My friend group had always been oddballs, turns out we were a mix of neurodivergent and LGBTQ+ community. Dan has a little brother, Mike, 17M, fake name. His parents were vaguely religious, never attending church but donating to the church and helping the community while silently celebrating holidays. Dan didn't tell his parents until he was 19, moved out and liquidated his college fund before telling them. He was entirely financially independent. I think he feared backlash. Despite that, him and Mike had always been good friends. We have had Mike crash our parties and hangouts more often than I can count, but none of us minded because he was a super sweet and kind person. He even broke a bully's nose for someone in our group once, and the bully was bigger and older than him. His parents were awkward with it when it was time to tell them and tried to understand. His dad was more accepting. His brother was thrilled to help his brother do guy activities. Dan has been going through all the things to become the physical representation of how he views himself, surgery and other bits. Dan gave himself a temporary name at 19, saying he was looking for a proper name that suits him. Well, he hosted a party with our friend group at a restaurant recently. He told us his new and permanent name. It was Mike middle last suffix. To clear that up, he wanted his little brother's full legal name. Dan's family has had a name passed down and Mike, his younger brother, being the only and oldest son, at the time of births, had inherited the name. The family is very proud of the name because they are in double digits now. Dan went on to explain that as the oldest, it was only right he had the family name. Our friends shared awkward looks and one left the table. Dan asked what was wrong and I explained it was creepy and weird to want to take his brother's name. I asked if he had talked to his parents yet and he denied all of it. He said his reasons and existence was valid as mine and his brother's. He called me an asshole and left. A few friends said I was too harsh and that he was still trying to navigate his identity. They said I could have been kinder about it and to try to understand his point of view. I just really feel like this is a bad idea. And it's creepy and weird. I would lost my shit if my brother tried this with me. Stories number 24. My new boss thinks beard discrimination is the same as gender discrimination. So today at work, my new boss asked me why I left my previous IT project. I was honest and told him it was due to gender-based discrimination. His response? He told me he could totally relate because he once experienced people trusting men with long beards more than him. Seriously, this man really thought his beard struggle was equivalent to the systemic, dehumanizing experience of being a woman in tech. Like, dude, nobody doubted your intelligence, dismissed your ideas, or talked over you because of your gender. You weren't paid less, excluded from networking opportunities, or treated as less competent from day one. It's wild how some men will reach for the most surface-level, irrelevant comparison just to center themselves in a conversation that isn't about them. And I bet he walked away thinking he was being progressive by relating to my experience instead of just listening. I swear, the bar is on the floor. Stories number 25. What I used to do to people that asked me about kids. I'm too old for this now, but when I was in my 30s, freaking every stranger felt the need to ask me about when my husband and I were starting a family. Seriously, I went to a plant nursery one day and the lady that was helping me reminded me that my biological clock was ticking, and I got real sick of strangers all up in my business. So I came up with a plan. From then on, every time someone asked about it, I'd think about my pets aging and the fact I would lose them one day and start crying, then I'd whisper, "Excuse me," and run away. They'd assume we were trying and had a loss or something and leave me alone and, more to the point, they would think about why they shouldn't ask questions like that. You don't know what someone is going through. The look of shock on the lady's face the first time I did it was so good. Just standing there with her mouth hanging open and her hand up to her face. I was at work, so I ran to the bathroom and came back 5 minutes later. From my mid-30s until around 40, I did this to maybe 50 people. 50 strangers. Anyone who knew me knew I'd never wanted kids. Stories number 26. Aita for telling my mother-in-law if she keeps asking about our baby's name she won't see her for an additional week every time she asks. I 21F am currently 39 weeks pregnant, due next Thursday. Over the course of my pregnancy I have had several issues with my MIL, the two biggest being her wanting to be in the delivery room when I give birth, even though I have made it clear since the beginning the only person I want there is my husband. It got to the point where I decided I didn't want any visitors at the hospital, not even my parents, because she threw a fit about them coming after baby was born. However, the biggest issue has been her wanting to know the baby's name. Baby is going to be named after my grandfather, who I have been extremely close to my entire life. Because of this we decided to keep it a secret so it could be a surprise to him once she is born. My MIL even went as far as snooping through my hospital bag to try and find either the sweater or the Welcome to World sign that has her name on it. Luckily, I caught her before she found them. Yesterday she called my husband again asking why she can't know the name, even going as far saying, "What if something happens to me and I never get to know my baby's name?" For reference, she is in good health and does not work a dangerous job. After my husband informed me of this conversation, I called my MIL and told her as of now she will not meet the baby for at least 3 weeks after she is born, and each time she asks about the name after this point will be an additional week she will not meet her. She says I am being cruel and denying her baby. So Aita for telling my MIL if she continues to ask about my baby's name I will not allow her to meet the baby for another week. Update. Not sure how to update my post, so I hope this works. First, to answer some questions. This is my MIL's 4th grandchild, however they do not see the other 3 but maybe 3 or 4 times a year. I am not sure why my BIL and SIL live about 4 hours away and do not allow the kids to come down here. Second, my husband does support my decision, however he struggles a lot with setting boundaries with his family. He was raised with the "they are blood so their actions are okay" mentality. This is something we are working on, and yes, his family, not just his parents, take full advantage of him. He is a teddy bear, and this is not the first time since we have been together that a family member has ran right over him. He did end up cutting the other family member off, but I don't see him doing that to his mother. On to the update. After waking up this morning and reading all your comment, I sat down with my husband and showed him this post. After he read all the comments, something clicked in his head. He agreed this behavior is not okay and apologized for not being firmer with his mother. We have decided we will not be telling anyone when I go into labor except for a trusted friend who will be taking care of our dogs and horses and will inform my LD team no one is to come in under any circumstances. He also sent his mom the following message. Mom, after the conversation we had yesterday, your behavior has gotten out of hand. While I understand you are excited to meet our baby, your actions have shown we cannot trust you around her until we receive an apology and see your actions have changed. You will not be meeting her. And from this point on, wifey will not be communicating with you. If you have anything else to say, you will say it to me and me only. I am very proud of him for standing up for his family. We will see how things progress, but at this point I am checking out and focusing on myself and baby. Thanks everyone for the support and advice. Stories number 27. Aita for not chipping in for my friend's Uber after he felt uncomfortable sleeping at my place. I, 26M, have been friends with Josh, 26M, since college. We were basically inseparable then, but only stayed in touch intermittently since graduation. Recently he moved to NYC, where I live, and we have been hanging out like old times. Josh mainly comes near me because there's some bars we like to go to there. I've offered to go to his neighborhood. He lives in a different borough, but he says there's no fun places there. The only issue is he has to leave pretty early because the trains get wonky at night and Ubers are expensive. I've offered to let him crash, but he says he didn't want to be a burden. Anyway, last Saturday Josh wanted to stay out and asked if he could crash. I told him of course. We went back to my studio. He knew it was a studio, and he asked if I had any pajamas he could borrow. I told him no because 1. I genuinely own no pajamas and 2. I have some sweatpants but I'm weird about people wearing my clothes. Can't explain why, just am. A germ thing. Anyway, I suggested Josh he just sleep in his boxers and he got annoyed. He said he wouldn't have stayed if he had known I'd be so accommodating, and I said all I offered him was a couch to crash on. He Ubered home and it was about $100. The next day he Venmo requests me $30 and says it's because he would have gone home earlier if he known I was going to be weird. I denied the request, and then when I tried to follow up on some previously made plans, he's been distant and has apparently trash-talked me to a mutual friend. Aita. Stories number 28. He made me walk home at 2 a.m. Last night I was at my BFS place until about 2 a.m. I had told him I needed to return to my house since I have cats and they hadn't seen me in a day. I tried to order an Uber because his neighborhood is super sketchy and I have been robbed nearby in other occasions, but it asked me for my ID and I didn't have it on me. I asked him to order it, I would pay, and gave him his phone. He put on a song and fell asleep. So I let myself out. He got up to open the gate but didn't offer to order the car. So I walked home, about 3 kilometers in one of the crappier areas of the city. I told him I needed to reconsider things and temporarily blocked him on WSP. He's saying that I overreacted by leaving angry and walking home. I think he put me in a dangerous situation at a bad hour. Edit. I didn't have my ID because the trip was spontaneous. I had 10 minutes to pack my bag, and since I'm an immigrant I can't have it stolen off me, which is why I don't tend to carry it. Petty theft is rampant. None of my friends have cars and I have no family here. I couldn't call the Uber off my phone and I told him this. I asked at least 5 times for him to order it over about a half hour. Yes, I did feel it was necessary to see the cats because no one had been to the house in 48 hours. 1 a.m. is when we arrived from the trip and 2 a.m. after having a bit of food. What other clarifications were wanted? Stories number 29. I just left Sephora in tears. Look, I am not beautiful. I am approaching 50. I have never worn makeup before and I have some events coming up, so I want to look like my best self. It took a lot for me to work up the nerve to walk into anywhere and ask for help. I just went to Sephora to try and get color match to buy some tinted moisturizer. The young lady that helped me looked like she did not want to help me. Then she just rubbed some Tower 28, the brand I keep seeing recommended on here, on my face and basically told me to decide if it matches. I told her I didn't know anything about makeup and she just kept telling me to decide. Does anyone have any advice so that I am not embarrassed again? Is there somewhere that will receive me with a more welcoming attitude? Or somewhere I can get samples so this never happens again? I have been sobbing since I left that wretched store. Edit to update. Thank you all. The overwhelming response really raised my spirits and had me laughing all the way to ULTA. The young lady at Ulta helped me quickly, efficiently, and I left with $150 in products. I really appreciate the good vibes, my people. I really felt a little bruised, but now I will play with my new makeup, primer and anti-reddening goop. Much love from Texas. Stories number 30. I love when trans people find themselves. I work in customer service in a very queer community. One of my very favorite things is having the privilege to witness our regulars during all stages of transition. When they ask us to change their name in our reward system, and then seeing their faces light up when they walk in and we say, hey, X. Watching their fashion styles shift, even the way they carry themselves, growing more and more confidence over time. It just feels like an honor to watch them blossom. I love you so much, my trans siblings, no matter what stage of transition you are in, no matter if you pass or not, I love you and I'm so proud of you. Stories number 31. Aita for refusing to babysit my half-siblings and telling my dad I'm not his backup mom. Hi Reddit, 19F, think I might have gone too far, but I need some outside perspective. For context, my parents divorced when I was 12 because my dad cheated on my mom with a younger woman, Emily, now 31F. It was a messy, ugly divorce, and my relationship with my dad has been strained ever since. He married Emily pretty quickly, and they now have 3 kids under 5. Ever since the kids were born, he's been constantly asking me to help out with babysitting. I live with my mom and go to college full-time while working part-time to cover my expenses. Despite that, my dad calls me almost every week, begging me to come over and bond with my siblings by babysitting. He says Emily is overwhelmed and needs a break. I honestly don't care, I never wanted siblings, and I'm still not over the fact that his affair blew up our family. I've told him I'm busy with school and work, but he keeps guilt-tripping me, saying things like, family takes care of family. Last weekend, he called again, practically demanding I babysit because Emily had a mental breakdown. I lost it. I told him, I'm not your backup mom. You chose to have more kids, and that's not my responsibility. He got quiet and then said, I thought you were more mature than this, before hanging up on me. Now, both he and Emily have been sending me messages, calling me selfish and saying that I'm abandoning my family. My grandma even chimed in, saying I should help my father in his time of need. But I feel like he's just trying to dump his problems on me because he made bad choices. My mom thinks I did the right thing, but now half my family is pissed at me. Aita for refusing to help and saying what I did. Stories number 32. Aita for feeling like poetic justice was served on my ex's wife. 3 years ago, my ex and I broke up because he chose to cheat on me with someone else. Not only did this woman steal my boyfriend, but she also went out of her way to rub it in my face. She sent me countless messages mocking me, and one of the worst things she did was insult my autistic sibling. She called my family a bunch of abnormals and even said it was a good thing my ex left me because I'd probably have abnormal kids too. I blocked both of them a long time ago and moved on with my life. But just recently, a former coworker mentioned that they had a baby together. And guess what? Their child has Down syndrome. Now, let me be clear, I do not believe that having a child with special needs is some kind of punishment. My parents are wonderful people, and my sibling is amazing. But I can't help but see the irony here. This woman was so cruel, so judgmental, and so disgustingly proud of herself for putting me down over something completely out of my control. And now, she's the one raising a child with special needs. I honestly hope this experience humbles her. Maybe now she'll think twice before mocking someone else's family. Aita for feeling like this is karma. Stories number 33. My wife, 38F, told me, 44M, that she doesn't need a 4th child, meaning me, after I opened up about a painful situation I'm going through. We've been together for 18 years, married for 12, and although we struggled over the past 18 months, I thought we had worked through it. We went to therapy, had deep conversations, and shared good times as a family with our 3 kids, 10F, 8F, 4F. There have still been ups and downs in the last few months, but I was starting to feel uneasy again. Lately, work has been stressful, and I've been away from my family for 3 weeks. Yesterday marked the first anniversary of my dad's passing, and during a video call with my wife, I told her I missed my family and my dad and that I was feeling depressed. Instead of support, she got angry, probably because she was having a stressful day with the kids. When I tried to talk to her today, she just said she doesn't need a 4th child. Now I'm sitting here alone, crying, with no one from my family to talk to. I can't help but feel like this is a sign that our marriage is over. Stories number 34. I work as a male escort in India. It's not what you think. New ACC for obv reasons. I never imagined I'd end up here. I'm 26 now, but this started 3 years ago. I moved to Mumbai fresh out of college, chasing the same dream as thousands of others: good job, good life. But reality hit hard. The jobs I got barely paid enough for rent, and I was drowning in credit card debt. One night, I was out drinking with some guys I knew, and the conversation turned to side gigs. Someone joked about how women would pay for company, even if nothing happened. I laughed it off. But later, one of them pulled me aside and said, if you're serious, I know a guy. Desperation makes you consider things you never thought you would. A week later, I met a guy who ran an escort service. Nothing seedy, no shady brothels, just private clients, mostly wealthy women looking for companionship. I thought it was bullshit. Then he showed me the money. 15,000 Indian rupees for a few hours. No pressure, no obligations beyond what I was comfortable with. I told myself I'd do it just once. Just to clear some debt. That was 3 years ago. Most of my clients aren't what people expect. They're not all rich housewives looking for affairs. Some are divorced, some are in dead marriages, some just need someone to listen to them without judgment. The first time, I was terrified. I met a woman in her late 30s at a hotel in Bandra. She was nervous too, kept apologizing, saying she'd never done this before. We talked for an hour before anything even happened. It wasn't just about sex for her, she wanted to feel wanted again. Some clients don't even want intimacy. I've been paid just to have dinner and act like a boyfriend for a few hours. Some women just want someone to listen. The client who broke me, a few months ago, I met a woman who booked me through a reference. She was in her early 30s, not rich like my usual clients. When I asked why she reached out, she said, I just want to feel normal for one night. She had just come out of an abusive marriage. Her ex-husband had broken her, made her feel like she wasn't worth anything. She wasn't looking for sex. She just wanted someone to hold her, tell her she was beautiful, and remind her that she was still a person. That night, she cried in my arms. And for the first time, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, because this wasn't just a job anymore. It was someone's pain. And I had stepped into it, pretending I knew how to make it better. She never booked me again. But I still think about her. Why I can't stop. I used to tell myself this was just temporary. That I'd quit once I saved enough. But the truth is, this job gives me a kind of power and control I never had before. I know how to make people feel good, how to become what they need for a night. And in a strange way, that makes me feel needed too. But some nights, when I come home alone, I wonder, am I really in control, or am I just as lost as the people who hire me? Comments. Comment 1, just a suggestion. Try reading up on human psychology and behavior. That will definitely help. Easier said than done, but try and disassociate yourself from your job when you meet someone who is in pain. Remember, you are doing a job and getting paid. That's that. Again, it's easy to say for me but difficult to practice. It takes a lot of practice. As long as the money is rolling in, be strong and get it done with. Invest your money wisely so that your money generates more money for you. Plan an early retirement. This should be your first priority now. Comment 2, on our journey, we encounter many lost souls. Yet we cannot tell if it is they or we who are lost, or whether the journey itself is cursed. Comment 3, my God, never thought escort system would have such a deep relation to emotions. You've really given me a new perspective, and I'm sorry for what you are facing or faced. You're sure a brave man. I think I'm too young to suggest you anything, but I know you do well in life. Be well. Update, to the woman who shattered in my arms. You walked in with quiet eyes and a tired smile, carrying a weight no one else could see. You said you just wanted to feel normal for a night. But normal people don't hold their own hands like they're afraid to let go. Normal people don't flinch at kindness, like it's something they don't deserve. I watched you unravel, piece by piece, your voice barely a whisper between sobs. I'm sorry, you kept saying, like your pain was something you had to apologize for. Like your suffering was an inconvenience to the world. But that night, you weren't just another client. You weren't a transaction. You were someone who needed to be held, and for once, I forgot the lines I wasn't supposed to cross. I let you cry into my chest, gripping my shirt like it was the only thing keeping you from falling apart completely. I ran my fingers through your hair, telling you it was okay, even though it wasn't. Even though nothing about that night was okay. And then, morning came. You wiped your tears, fixed your hair, and left. No name. No number. That I sat there long after you were gone, wondering how many nights you had cried alone before that one. Wondering if you ever found someone who didn't just hold you for a night, but held you long enough to make you believe you deserved it. I don't know where you are now. But if you ever find yourself breaking again, I hope there's someone there to catch you. Someone who won't just hold you for a night, but for as long as you need. Stories number 35. Aita for being upset that my husband missed our daughter's cake. I, 25F, have been married to my husband, 36M, for 6 years. We have 2 kids, a 5-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. My husband has a demanding job, and I've always tried to be understanding about his long hours. But this time, I just couldn't. Our daughter was so excited for his birthday. She helped me bake a cake from scratch, mixing, decorating, and waiting all day to surprise him. She kept asking when he'd be home, and I reassured her that Daddy promised he wouldn't miss it. But then work called, and just like that, he was caught up in something urgent again. She waited. Kept looking at the door. Kept asking. Eventually, she got quiet, barely touched her own slice of cake, and finally went to bed in tears. When he got home late that night, I told him how upset she was. He sighed and said he had to work, that I should understand how much pressure he's under. I told him I do, but our daughter doesn't, she just knows he wasn't there. I said she won't remember how hard he worked, she'll remember the times he missed. He got defensive, saying I was making him feel like a bad father when he's doing his best. I wasn't trying to guilt-trip him, but I also couldn't pretend it didn't matter. Now I'm wondering if I overreacted. Aita,